Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. I, the Lord of Dimensions, build the gods from scratch. Chapter 31. Yes, although it is regrettable, your life is over. Aqua said with a compassionate look on her face. Before her true nature was revealed, Aqua was truly a goddess. She said slowly, I am the goddess who guides the young dead in Neon, Mr. Kurosaki Ichigo. Now you have two choices before you. One is to be reincarnated as a human and start a new life. The other option is to stay in a place similar to heaven and live like an old man. As if afraid of Luo Wei's second choice, Aqua added, the so-called heaven is not as beautiful as you humans imagine. You don't need to eat after death. Since you are dead, you will naturally not be able to give birth, anything. I don't have the materials or any necessities to make anything. I'm sorry if I disappoint you, but there is nothing in heaven. There is no TV, no comics or video games, there are only dead ancestors. Quote. Of course, because I'm already dead, I can't do lascivious things. I don't even have a body at all, so there's nothing I can do. After entering heaven, all I can do is bask in the sun with my ancestors and chat nonsense, forever. Luo Wei immediately put on a disappointed face. Seeing the disappointment on Luo Wei's face, Aqua said with a smile, well, you don't want to go to a boring place like heaven, right? Having said that, if you put aside all your memories and start living again as a baby, because the memories have disappeared, it means that your existence will also disappear. So, I have some good news for you. Luo Wei quickly asked excitedly, what good news? So Aqua told me that there was a demon king in a different world. Then, under the attack of the demon king's army, the world fell into crisis. He told Luo Wei that there was magic and monsters in that world. The people who died in that world were killed by the demon king's army, so they were very scared and said they didn't want to die like that again. So those who died almost all refused to be reincarnated in that world. Quote. To be clear, if this continues, no more babies will be born in that world, and it will perish. So, if that's the case, isn't it just a matter of sending the dead from other worlds there? That's the way it is. Who said Luo Wei already knew this when watching the plot, but he still couldn't help but complain like Sato Kazuma. What kind of immigration policy is this? Aqua continued. Then, since we want to send people there, we can simply find people who died at a young age and are still full of attachments, and let them keep their original bodies and memories and send them there directly. Besides, it would be meaningless to die immediately if you send it there, so we will also give the deceased a right so that you can bring something you like to that world. It can be a powerful special ability, or an extraordinary talent. Some people even choose artifact-level weapons. How about it? Although you are in a different world, you can live again. For people from another world, there is another person who can immediately become a fighting force. How about it? Is it good news? Luo Wei immediately put on an excited expression and said, that's great, I want to go to this world. Aqua saw Luo Wei being so smart, and immediately had a good impression of Luo Wei. Then she took out what looked like a catalog. Choose. I can grant you one, the only power that will not be lost to anyone else. For example, it can be a powerful special ability. Or, for example, it can be a legendary weapon. Come on, it doesn't matter what it is. You have the right to bring the only thing to a different world. Luo Wei looked through the catalog, which read, Strange Power, Super Magic Power, Holy Sword Alondet, Magic Sword Murasama, and various other names. There is no doubt that these are all foul-level abilities. As for the super magic power, in the original plot, Megaman, the great magician, would lose his magic power once he released the explosive magic, turning into a waste with exhausted magic power and unable to do anything. But if Luo Wei chooses super magic, he can release 10 or 8 explosive magic with his bare hands without running out of magic. For example, Luo Wei can have monster powers beyond the level of monsters and beasts. It can easily crush monsters like griffins, and maybe even wrestle with giant dragons. As for these artifacts, Luo Wei didn't care. Because artifacts and abilities are different, artifacts will be recycled. Ability does not. With the death of the user, these abilities will naturally disappear, so the gods in heaven will not recycle the abilities at all. So currently Luo Wei would not choose an artifact, not to mention that he has a forging god like Hephaestus by his side. If he really wants an artifact, he can ask Hephaestus to make one for him. Therefore, artifacts are completely out of Luo Wei's consideration. What he wants to acquire most right now is these abilities. To be honest, Luo Wei wanted all of the above abilities, but unfortunately, he could only choose one. So Luo Wei must think about it seriously. However, at this moment, Aqua kept chattering. Now, come on, it doesn't matter what you choose anyway, can you just pick one and set off quickly? You can choose anything, hurry up and choose, hurry up and choose. No wonder Sato Kazuma chose Aqua as a cheat in a fit of rage. After all, Aqua is really annoying in a sense. However, Luo Wei still chose the ability he wanted the first time, that was the ability to create objects of his own imagination. To put it bluntly, it is fantasy materialized. By the way, this ability has also been chosen by a reincarnated person before. Relying on this ability, this reincarnated person became a stay-at-home guy, and eventually even became the designer of noise, a powerhouse in ancient magical technology. Even at the urging of the country's top leaders, monsters like the Fortress Destroyer were designed. Eventually, the country was destroyed by the Mobile Fortress Destroyer. But until now, this Mobile Fortress Destroyer is still rampaging through the beautiful world, destroying countless cities and fortresses. However, after the destruction of Noise, an ancient country with magical technology, this reincarnated person finally passed away alone inside the destroyer because he could not leave the fortress, but he became a Buddha without any nostalgia. In a sense, this is the ultimate irony. After Luo Wei selected his ability, Aqua took the initiative and gifted this ability to Luo Wei. Immediately afterwards, a magic circle with blue light appeared under Luo Wei's feet. Aqua looked like a goddess and said, "Mr. Kurosaki Ichigo, you are about to go to another world and become one of the reserve heroes to defeat the Demon King. The moment you defeat the Demon King, you will be able to receive gifts from the gods." Quote. Luo Wei snorted. He actually didn't expect this gift, because Luo Wei knew very well that he was just a cheater. "I can't get this gift at all, and I won't get this gift. Let this gift be given to Sato Kazuma. Brave, may you stand out among the many reserved braves and become the one who defeats the Demon King. Well, let's set off." The next second, Luo Wei disappeared from this place of reincarnation. He only felt that his eyes were dazzled, and he returned to Axel. Then, Luo Wei once again found the three goddesses Eris, Hephaestus, and Hestia. At this time, the two goddesses Hephaestus and Hestia already knew from Eris's mouth what Luo Wei had just done. After seeing Luo Wei come back, the two goddesses immediately came together. Hestia couldn't help but ask, "How's it going? Do you have the plug-in you want?" Luo Wei nodded with a smile. Goddess Eris asked curiously, "What cheat did you get?" Luo Wei said bluntly, "The ability to create objects of your own imagination is, to put it bluntly, the realization of fantasy." Eris exclaimed, "So this is the ability. Although it has many limitations, it is still a very excellent ability." Luo Wei nodded. After getting the fantasy materialization, he knew the limitations of this ability. First, this ability cannot create life. Not even a puppy or an ant can do it. Luo Wei said before that the Red Demon Clan was created by the reincarnated person who got the same plug-in as himself, but now Luo Wei understands that he actually misunderstood. This fantasy materialization cannot create life, so the Red Demons were not created by the other party. The Crimson Demons were transformed. They were originally humans, but they were transformed into the Crimson Demon Clan. Secondly, this ability cannot create magic power. In addition to magic power, energy such as holy light and energy cannot be created out of thin air. But it can create magic potions. In addition, this ability cannot create behemoths such as celestial bodies and planets. However, it can create objects such as rocks and houses. Additionally, this ability cannot create artifacts. However, it can create weapons such as armor and weapons. Despite the above limitations, this ability is undoubtedly still an excellent ability. After listening to Luo Wei's explanation, Hestia couldn't help but complain to the goddess Eris, hey, is it really okay to suddenly hand over this foul ability? In the world of Earth and Earth, the gods certainly have various abilities, but the ability to manifest fantasy is a very terrifying ability even in the eyes of the gods. Only some gods who hold the power of creation can use it. But now the gods of the beautiful world have given this ability to a human being without hesitation. It's too arrogant. Even Hephaestus was a little surprised. If the children in her family could obtain this ability, they would not have to go to the dungeon to collect materials so hard. Faced with Hestia's complaints, Eris smiled and said, "Although this ability is very strong, it will not destroy the world, so there is no problem." Hephaestus and Hestia looked at each other, deeply aware of the power and terror of the pantheon behind Eris. On the other hand, Luo Wei turned around and left after thanking Eris. He couldn't wait to try out the abilities he had gained now. So Luo Wei deliberately went to the wilds of Axel to look for giant toads. Because he had defeated giant toads several times before, Luo Wei knew where the giant toads were. After walking out of Axel's city, Luo Wei used his ability to manifest a motorcycle. To be honest, Luo Wei doesn't know much about motorcycles. Apart from the appearance, the internal structure is unknown at all. But even so, when Luo Wei started to realize his fantasy, the motorcycle still appeared in front of Luo Wei. Luo Wei was riding on the motorcycle and tried to start the motorcycle. With a churning sound, the motorcycle started smoothly. It seemed that even if he said he was unfamiliar with something, he could still create it by relying on fantasy. Luo Wei had to admit that this thing was really foul. No wonder the last reincarnated person with this ability became the designer of a powerful demon country, and even successfully transformed the Red Demon clan. This ability is really awesome. Following the chug sound, Luo Wei went all the way to the plain outside and found the giant toad that haunted the plain. As soon as he raised his hand, a desert eagle appeared out of thin air in Luo Wei's hand. Bang bang bang. With a crisp sound of gunfire, the giant toad fell. In the past, if Luo Wei wanted to deal with the giant toad, he would have to run over and kill the opponent with one sword after another, but now he only needs to point the gun at the giant toad and pull the trigger. You can easily kill the opponent. Not even monsters can stop the power of the desert eagle. Of course, this is probably because the giant toad is not a powerful monster. If it were a griffin or a monster such as a critical bear, it would probably be able to withstand bullet attacks. The defense power of these high-level monsters is really strong, and ordinary attacks cannot break the defense at all. Luo Wei held a desert eagle and rode a motorcycle on the plains, killing dozens of giant toads in just a short time. This efficiency is simply unrivaled. Compared with cold weapons, structures like firearms are simply dimensionality reduction strikes. But at the same time, Luo Wei also discovered the hidden shortcomings of the ability to manifest fantasy. That is, the consumption of mental power. Although fantasy materialization can create things using one's own imagination, this kind of creation consumes not magic power, but mental power. If you create things too frequently, it can easily put a certain burden on your brain. Luo Wei remembers that the reincarnated person who got the same plug-in as him was a young man with thick hair at first, but later he became bald. It is very likely that the exhaustion of mental energy leads to insufficient brain nutrition, which leads to baldness. Of course, it's also possible that it's simply because of age. But no matter what, Luo Wei must not become bald. With the ability to cheat by manifesting fantasy, Luo Wei's journey of fighting monsters and upgrading has become much more enjoyable. When they attacked the White Wolf for the second time, Luo Wei directly materialized a machine gun. He rushed forward with a machine gun. In the last duel between Luo Wei and the White Wolf, if Hephaestus hadn't been there to protect him, Luo Wei would have almost been cut into pieces by the White Wolf. But this time the offense and defense were reversed. Luo Wei pointed his machine gun at the White Wolf and fired a burst of fire, making endless clicking sounds. Sparks were coming from the muzzle of the gun. The bullets shot out directly penetrated the White Wolf's body. The White Wolf dodged very quickly. He started to dodge when he heard the sound, but the speed of the bullet was even faster. Often, before these white wolves have time to dodge, bullets have already hit their bodies and taken away their lives. However, in just 10 seconds, all the white wolves died in Luo Wei's hands. When the remaining white wolves saw this scene, they were so frightened that they howled and fled in all directions. There is no doubt that this is Luo Wei's victory. It is also a victory of modern machinery. When Wiz saw this, she opened her mouth in surprise. She didn't expect that the weapons made by Luo Wei were so powerful. A group of white wolves, even a mature team of adventurers, had to avoid its sharp edges. However, this group of powerful white wolves could not survive even a minute in Luo Wei's hands. This weapon is really terrible. Even Darkness was shocked. The only person present who could remain calm was Nakiri Arena. As a modern person, Nakiri Arena was too aware of the power of firearms. Although the style of using firearms in the world of swords and magic is obviously wrong, it is undeniable that the efficiency of firearms is too high, easily ending a battle that should have been arduous. After the battle, Luo Wei highlighted the adventure card and took a look. The experience bar at the bottom of this adventurer card has indeed grown to a certain extent. This means that even when using firearms in the world of swords and magic, Luo Wei can still upgrade. However, in the following battle, Darkness was unwilling to use this weapon again. It's not because this weapon is too powerful, but because this kind of battle makes her feel no sense of participation. This kind of battle is not what she wants at all. What she wants is the kind of evenly matched, arduous battle, and then turns defeat into victory after suffering all the abuse. Luo Wei didn't even bother to complain about this. However, as a companion, Luo Wei still met Darkness's request. In the ensuing battle against the Crit Bear, Luo Wei did not take action. Instead, let Darkness face the Crit Bear alone. After the two sides engaged in a unique and evenly matched battle, Luo Wei killed the Crit Bear with one shot. In this battle, both sides could be said to be equally matched. Because Darkness couldn't hit the enemy at all, she was basically the one getting beaten in this battle. The reason why this battle was evenly matched was because Darkness' body was too strong. Even the Crit Bear couldn't deal with Darkness, so this battle was very tense. Darkness was knocked down again and then stood up again and again. What Luo Wei couldn't bear to look at was that every time Darkness stood up, she would gasp for breath, with a flush of excitement on her face. She looked so abnormal and perverted. Nakiri Arena and everyone were dumbfounded. Even the well-informed Wiz had to admit that he really underestimated Darkness. Even among perverts like this are very rare. At least when she was not transformed into a lich and was still an adventurer, she had never seen such a perverted adventurer. Darkness opened her eyes in a sense. The battle between Darkness and the Crit Bear lasted for nearly an hour, which meant that Darkness had been beaten for at least half an hour. During the battle, both shields and armor were knocked off. But what Crit Bear didn't understand was why Darkness could still stand up again and again. So at the end of the battle, the Crit Bear no longer wanted to continue fighting. On the contrary, Darkness kept pestering the Crit Bear, causing the Crit Bear to have to attack Darkness again and again. An hour later, Darkness finally collapsed with satisfaction. And the Crit Bear also fell down. Not injured, but tired. Anyone who has been fighting an enemy that cannot be beaten or defeated for nearly an hour will be exhausted. So Luo Wei killed the Crit Bear with one shot after the Crit Bear fell. Faintly, he seemed to see a happy expression on Crit Bear's face. This was probably an illusion. Are you happy this time? Luo Wei picked up the scarred Darkness and asked teasingly. Darkness didn't speak, but her face turned red. After hesitating for a long time, she finally whispered, "Thank you." "You're welcome, we are all companions." After the crusade, Luo Wei sent Darkness to the public bathhouse. After taking a clean hot bath, Darkness was resurrected with full health. The body is hard and the defense is high, which means you can do whatever you want. Afterwards, Wiz went back to running his own shop with peace of mind. With the ability to manifest fantasy, Wiz will no longer be needed to protect him when he fights monsters in the future. Luo Wei can definitely use modern weapons to kill everyone in the novice zone of Axel. Even if you accidentally encounter an enemy that you can't deal with, you can use your own abilities to create a door, and then escape through your golden fingers. In other words, from now on, Luo Wei will soon be on his own. This is why Wiz is so relieved to go back. After Wiz left, Luo Wei, Arena Nakiri, and Darkness went to the Adventurers Guild to submit tasks and received corresponding rewards. Nakiri Arena suggested that she would use the rewards to buy some ingredients from another world. Naturally, Luo Wei would not object. Darkness even patted her chest and said, "Just leave this matter to me." Then he took Arena Nakiri to Axel's market to buy ingredients. Luo Wei originally planned to follow, but at this moment, he suddenly thought of something and refused. After the two people left, Luo Wei also left the Adventurers Guild. After walking around the streets of Axel, he left the main road and turned into an alley. A mysterious shop appeared in front of Luo Wei. This store is Luo Wei's purpose. Although Axel is a novice adventure town, it has many secrets. There is a secret that all male adventurers guard together. That is, Axel has a shop secretly run by dream demons, which specializes in making people have sweet dreams. Luo Wei knew very well what species the dream demon was. This kind of demon specializes in absorbing the impulsive desires of human beings, that is, the essence of men, and uses it to survive. In this way, male humans are of course indispensable and necessary for them. As a result, the male adventurers of Axel and the dream monsters living in this town established a mutually beneficial relationship. Male adventurers basically live in stables when they have no money. As a result, there will be a lot of things that cannot be vented. Of course, it was impossible to touch the female adventurer sleeping nearby. If he really did that, he would be immediately discovered by other female adventurers and beaten up. Or maybe the person you want to touch is secretly holding a dagger, which eventually leads to some tragedy. Therefore, it is necessary to rely on the dream monsters at this time. They will make the adventurers dream of fragrant and exciting dreams while the adventurers are sleeping. Adventurers can feel refreshed, and they can also make a living. Moreover, the dream monsters here are very restrained and will not turn us into human beings and prevent us from going on adventures. I have never heard of a case where an adventurer was in danger because too much energy was sucked away. The reason why Luo Wei separated from Darkness and Arena Nikiri was because he wanted to visit this store. In fact, this idea did not suddenly appear today. Luo Wei has been upgrading very quickly in recent days, and every time with the upgrade, Luo Wei's physical functions will make great progress. In other words, Luo Wei is now a true superhuman. The improvement of physical functions also means that Luo Wei's energy is getting stronger. When sleeping these days, Luo Wei often has to vent before falling asleep. Therefore, he came up with the idea of visiting this store. However, Luo Wei failed to do it because of various things that happened before. After finally getting this opportunity today, Luo Wei naturally wanted to visit this legendary dream shop. This dream shop looks like a very ordinary restaurant on the surface, but welcome. But when Luo Wei walked into this store, what greeted Luo Wei was a big sister that many men dream of and can be said to be the ideal figure for women. Greeted by the beautiful lady with such an attractive figure, Luo Wei entered the store and found that there were all male customers inside. For this, Luo Wei is not surprised at all. There are several older ladies with equally attractive figures walking around in the store. To be honest, just this alone makes Luo Wei feel an uncontrollable urge in his chest. It was obviously a restaurant, but there was no food or drink on the tables. All the guests were sitting at their respective tables, looking at a piece of paper that looked like a questionnaire, engrossed in not knowing what they were writing. After a beautiful dream girl took Luo Wei to an empty seat and sat down, she took a menu and said with a smile, "Is this your first time coming to our store?" Luo Wei nodded. The eldest sister smiled even brighter. "So, do you guys know what kind of store this is and who we are?" Luo Wei nodded silently again. The elder sister seemed to be satisfied with this. She put the menu on the table and said, "Please order whatever you want. Of course, it doesn't matter if you don't order anything. Then, please fill in this opinion survey form. Necessary items should be handed over to the counter during checkout." Luo Wei took the opinion survey form and said, "This questionnaire is very detailed and should not allow adventurers to set their favorite people. It's almost time to customize your dream. For example, you can be a king or a hero in your dreams. Of course, there are also some customers who want to become immature teenagers and be pushed down by tough female adventurers, etc. These are all explained in the original plot. Luo Wei is no stranger to this. It is also worth mentioning that the setting object part can be specified in great detail, including but not limited to personality, mantra, appearance, favorability towards you, any trait, and anyone can do it. It doesn't matter if the person you want to specify is not a real person. In other words, as long as it is in a dream, there is no problem even with a second-dimensional wife. As for whether there will be any infringement of portrait rights, anyway, it was in a dream, so there is no problem. After Luo Wei silently filled out his illusion, he handed it to Sister Dream Demon, and under the leadership of Sister Dream Demon, he went to the counter to check out. The guest chose a 3-hour trip, and the cost is 5,000 iris. There is no doubt that this is a pretty cheap price. No matter what kind of adventurer you are, as long as you defeat a giant toad, you can come to this store to customize a dream. To put it bluntly, compared with the prices of specialty stores in Neon, this price can be said to be a breaking price. If these dream monsters go to Neon, they can completely destroy Neon's custom street. The reason why the price of the Dream Demon shop is so cheap is because for the Dream Demon, money is not important at all. Money is enough as long as it allows them to live as humans in this town. Other than that, they only need to absorb a little bit of energy from the guests. Luo Wei is completely impressed by their dedicated and compassionate business approach. If tonight's experience is unexpected, Luo Wei thinks he will probably become a regular customer of this store. After all, I am also a man. Before leaving, Sister Dream Demon gave Luo Wei one last reminder. Please leave the address where you will spend the night tonight and your expected bedtime. At that time, the incubus in our restaurant will come to the guests who are sleeping and make the guests dream of the designated dream. If possible, please try not to drink. If we get so drunk that we fall asleep completely, even we won't be able to make our guests dream. Luo Wei naturally chose to obey such advice and left his address tonight. He doesn't plan to go back tonight. Just stay in a hotel in Axel for one night and experience the service of incubus. In the evening, after Luo Wei saw off Nakiri Arena, he rushed to the hotel where he stayed. After taking a hasty bath, he lay on the bed and fell asleep deeply. But when the bright moonlight shined through the window and fell on Luo Wei's face, a cheerful smile appeared on Luo Wei's face unconsciously. No doubt he had a wonderful dream. The next morning, Luo Wei woke up very early. I woke up around 6 o'clock. At this time, Axel had not yet fully woken up. The sky was just getting brighter. There were only 2s and 3s of pedestrians on the street, and most of the residents were asleep. But Luo Wei couldn't sleep, thinking about the dream last night. There is no doubt that it was a wonderful dream. Generally speaking, after normal people wake up from a dream, they will soon forget everything about the dream. But this time it was completely different. Instead of forgetting the content of the dream, Luo Wei remembered it vividly and could remember even some details clearly. And the reason why he can remember these is also thanks to the Dream Demon. It is also worth mentioning that the Dream Demon left before Luo Wei woke up, but the dream that remained left Luo Wei still recalling it endlessly. Because it was really a wonderful dream. Luo Wei felt that he might not be able to live without the Dream Demon, and maybe he should try it again tonight. Lying in bed and reminiscing about yesterday's dream, Luo Wei got up from the bed, opened the door and returned to his home. After washing up, he came to the beautiful world again. Although the Dream Demon absorbed some energy last night, Luo Wei did not feel tired but felt refreshed. As they said, Axel's Dream Demon only absorbs a small amount of male essence and will not affect the adventurer's adventure or daily life, so it can be used with confidence. That's great. After leaving the hotel, it was already 7 o'clock in the morning. Luo Wei first went to the Shokugeki spirit world, called Arena Nakiri, and then came to the Adventurers Guild. Darkness appeared here early. After the three of them met, Nakiri Arena took out the prepared breakfast and shared it with everyone. After having breakfast at the Adventurers Guild, everyone came to the taskbar and checked to see which tasks they could receive. After some discussion, it was finally decided to accept the task of exploring the dungeon. Yes, there are actually dungeons in the wonderful world, but the dungeon here is not as exaggerated as the dungeon in the wrong place, it is just an ordinary dungeon. If Luo Wei remembers correctly, this dungeon seems to have been built by a lich. After receiving the mission, Luo Wei and his group set off. After leaving Axel, Luo Wei used his fantasy to materialize and created a motorcycle. He, Arena Nakiri, and Darkness set off on a motorcycle. Luo Wei sat in the middle, Nakiri Arena sat in front of him, and Darkness sat behind him, hugging his waist tightly. Ah, this feeling. In the front is the hot and well-developed JK, and in the back is the aristocratic lady with the same hot body. And he was surrounded by two people, their soft bodies pressing against him. If Luo Wei remembered correctly, he seemed to have had such a dream last night. It's just that the two people at that time didn't seem to be wearing any clothes. Ahem, I can't think about it anymore, it would be a bit impolite to think about it anymore. Luo Wei quickly came to his senses, started his motorcycle and sped away. The journey that originally took half a day was shortened to 1 hour. An hour later, Luo Wei and a group of people came to the foot of a certain mountain and followed the unpaved animal trail. I don't know how long I walked on this path with branches blocking the way. At this time, what suddenly appeared in front of Luo Wei and the 3 people was a rather sturdy cabin. There is a sign hanging randomly on the front of the cabin with the words, "Shelter," written on it. On the mountain wall near the cabin, there is a dark opening that cannot be seen inside. This is the entrance to the dungeon. The entrance to this dungeon looks like a natural cave, but if you look inside, you can see a well-built staircase leading all the way to the inside. The name of this dungeon is called Kill's Dungeon. A long time ago, there was a man called a rare genius, an archmage named Kill, who fell in love with a noble daughter. A man who was originally engrossed in the field of magic and had no interest in the love between men and women saw Miss Kyonjin, who accidentally came to town for a walk. He fell in love with her after just one look. But of course this love affair is unlikely to come to fruition. Differences in status are such a huge distance in this world. The man knew this very well, so he immersed himself in the practice and research of magic, as if he wanted to forget the feelings that had arisen in his heart. Time flies, and once upon a time, the man became known as the best mage in the country. The man does not hesitate to use the magic he knows and contributes to the country. People poured in praise for the man. So the king invited the man to the city and held a banquet in his honor. Said the king to such a man, "I want to repay you for your service. I can make a wish come true for you, anything will do." The man said it. "There is only one wish in this world that I cannot fulfill no matter what." At that time, no one knew what wish the great mage named Kill had made. According to the story that followed, the archmage kidnapped the noble daughter, built this dungeon, and locked himself and the noble daughter inside. The lich Luo Wei mentioned before was the great magician named Kill. As for what Kill said at the beginning, Luo Wei actually knew it very well. After all, he had also seen the plot. What Kill said at the beginning was, "Let the people I love who have been abused be happy." And after being mistreated, the person Gare loved was naturally the noble daughter. In order to please the king, the parents of the noble Qian Jin sent her to be a concubine, but she was not favored by the king and did not get along well with the main palace and other concubines. Therefore, when Gil knew that the girl was being abused, he said, "Give it to me if you don't want it," and kidnapped her. In the days that followed, Gil proposed to the young lady he had kidnapped, and she agreed without saying a word. Then, while Gil started a love escape with the eldest lady, he fought against the royal army. Eventually a dungeon was built here. Time has passed and today, the noble daughter has died, but Kill is still alive after being transformed into a lich. However, the remains of the noble daughter of the guardian he had been hiding in the dungeon had never been seen. Luo Wei estimated that he probably wouldn't see this lich this time. Because this lich has been silently waiting for the high priest who can purify him to appear, and at this stage, the only person who can purify the lich is Aqua. It's a pity that Aqua is still in the heaven and has not come down, so Lich Kill will not come out to meet people. Come on, let's go in. After sorting things out at the entrance of the dungeon, Luo Wei took Arena Nakiri and Darkness into the dungeon. At this time, the 3 people all had a torch in their hands, and the light released dispelled the darkness of the underground city. The 3 of them walked down the stairs at the entrance of the dungeon for who knows how long. I have been walking in a dark environment for quite some time, but I still can't get out of the dungeon. This dungeon is a little deeper than expected. After a while, Luo Wei saw a rotting corpse, which should be the corpse of the adventurer. Luo Wei calmly stepped over the corpse and continued moving forward with the 2 women. Not long after, Luo Wei and his group finally encountered the monster. This is a lower-level demon called a monster. The concentration of magic power in the dungeon is higher than that on the ground, so weak demons will occasionally appear. Luo Wei pulled out the sword from his waist and defeated these monsters easily. The experience bar of adventurer cards has increased a bit, but not much. Fortunately, there are many monsters in the dungeon. In addition to monsters, there are also undead wandering in the dungeon. The so-called undead are of course not people who will not die, but a group of people who refuse to leave after death, and who say they have no way to leave their bodies while alive. Their corpses will then move into action and become undead. To put it bluntly, it's a mummy. There are two ways to defeat the undead. The first is purification. For example, Wiz is very good at purifying these undead. She often goes to the cemeteries around Axel to purify the lonely ghosts who are unwilling to leave the graves. The second method is to destroy the corpses inhabited by the undead and force the undead to ascend to heaven. Luo Wei didn't know the first method, so he could only learn the second method, forcibly beating the undead corpse to pieces, and then letting the undead ascend to heaven and leave this world. Although the experience gained by doing this is not much, it is still there. With the help of machine guns, this group of undead were often beaten into shuttles by overwhelming bullets before they even got close to Luo Wei, unable to get back up. This is why Luo Wei dares to venture into the dungeon. In this way, Luo Wei led Nakiri Arena and Darkness forward while cleaning up the monsters. Afterwards, everyone came to a room. There is a treasure chest in the corner of the room. When Darkness saw this scene, she couldn't help but said, "Ah! Why is there a treasure chest here?" She was very puzzled, because this dungeon had already been explored by countless seniors, and if there really was a treasure chest, it would not have been left until now. Luo Wei thought for a moment, then casually threw a stone he had just made next to the treasure chest. The moment it hit the floor, the surrounding walls and floors suddenly moved, completely covering the empty bottles and treasure chests. Until just now, Luo Wei and others thought that the parts of the floor and walls were ordinary, as if they were chewing the empty bottle wrapped in them, and they were squirming like living creatures. "What is that? It's so disgusting." Nakiri Arena was frightened and took a step back. She was disgusted. Darkness explained. "This is a mimic, a monster as the name suggests. Although it cannot move, it can mimic a part of its body into a treasure chest or money, and prey on creatures that walk on it. Sometimes he will mimic part of his body as a human being to prey on monsters that attack adventurers." Nakiri Arena couldn't help but click her tongue. There really are all kinds of monsters in the fantasy world. Luo Wei casually endured a grenade and went over to kill the mimic monster before continuing to explore the dungeon. Just as he had thought before, the three people almost pushed the dungeon aside, and the lich kill hidden deep in the dungeon did not appear. If nothing else, that guy is still sleeping, slowly waiting for himself to decay. If you want this guy to show up on his own initiative, you probably have to wait for Aqua to arrive. Luo Wei thought so. After leaving the dungeon, Luo Wei and Arena Nakiri were upgraded because they killed a large number of undead. Although Darkness has not upgraded, she has gained a lot of experience. One step closer to the next upgrade. It was almost noon after the three of them returned to Axel on their motorcycles. Luo Wei suggested going to the Adventurers Guild for dinner, but Arena Nakiri said that she was a chef, and it would be too embarrassing for a chef to eat out. She decided to invite Luo Wei and Darkness to UNEU Academy for dinner. Naturally, Luo Wei had no objection to this invitation. It would be better to say that he also wanted to visit UNEU Academy. Darkness said quickly, "I don't have any objections." So the matter was settled. After dressing up, the group first went to Nakiri Arena's house. Nakiri Arena found a suitable outfit for Darkness and asked her to change into it. After all, Darkness' appearance in armor was too conspicuous. Not to mention, after taking off her armor and putting on Nakiri Arena's clothes, Darkness looked much softer. If we say that Darkness is wearing armor, she is like a cold iceberg beauty. Then Darkness, wearing ordinary clothes, looks like a well-educated noble lady. But then again, Darkness was originally a noble lady. It is natural to have such a temperament. After changing their clothes, everyone got ready and finally arrived at Tatsuki Academy. Darkness may be unfamiliar with Tatsuki Academy, but Luo Wei is not unfamiliar at all. It's not like he hasn't seen the plot of Halberd Eater's Spirit before. How could I be unfamiliar with Tatsuki Academy? However, not being unfamiliar does not mean being familiar. There is a saying that goes well, what you see on paper will eventually make you realize it is shallow, but you will definitely know that you have to do it in detail. Luo Wei used to observe this academy through comics and animation, and never went deep into this academy. It was as if he were heading to the Labyrinth City or Ario. He knew it, but when he actually stood here, he felt that Tatsuki Academy was really big. It is also worth mentioning that when Luo Wei and a group of people were walking in this college, they quickly attracted the attention of most people. After all, Arina Nakiri is not only the granddaughter of the Academy president, Nakiri Senziman, but also the owner of the God's Tongue, and one of the youngest Tatsuki 10 heroes. The combination of these identities made Nakiri Arina attract a lot of attention in this academy. Every move will attract the attention of countless people. Now Nakiri Arina actually invites others to visit Tatsuki Academy as her companion, which will naturally arouse everyone's interest. So no matter where Luo Wei's group of talents go, they will attract many people to watch. At the same time, everyone was also frantically discussing the identities of Luo Wei and Darkness. After all, the temperament of the two people is not ordinary at first glance. After a period of life as an adventurer, Luo Wei's temperament has undergone earth-shaking changes. If he used to exude the aura of a migrant worker, now he exudes a vigorous aura. After all, he has to face monsters every day, so it's not surprising that he's tough. As for Darkness, she attracted even more attention. Just by standing there, the aura of a noble lady rushed towards me. Anyone can tell that Darkness is definitely a eldest lady from a well-born family with a rich family background. Even Nakiri Arina, who was standing next to him, was overwhelmed by Darkness' aura. Two people stood together, although they were both hot blonde girls. But Nakiri Arina gave people the illusion that she was Darkness's follower. This also confirmed Darkness' aura of aristocratic lady from the side. Amazing indeed. Nakiri Arina actually discovered this, but he didn't care. Instead, he brought Luo Wei and Darkness to his territory. The 10 most outstanding students of Tatsuki Academy are called the 10 elites, and each one has his own kitchen. Simply put, it is a small food factory. There are a large amount of ingredients stored inside, specifically for the top 10 to improve their cooking skills and develop new meals. When a few people arrived at Nakiri Arina's territory, Nakiri Arina's little follower Nito Hisako had been waiting for a long time. "Hey, isn't this secretary? I've kept you waiting for a long time." Luo Wei smiled and said hello to Nito Fasako. Nito Fasako pretended not to hear, bowed respectfully and said, Miss Darkness, Your Excellency Luo Wei, please come inside." Everyone entered Nakiri Arina's private kitchen and found another person inside. A woman wearing a kimono. This woman is somewhat similar to Nakiri Arina, sitting on a chair with a leisurely expression. "It's too slow, Arina, Mom, I'm tired of waiting." That's right, this woman wearing a kimono with a leisurely look is none other than Nakiri Arina's mother, Nakiri Minagi. When Nakiri Arina saw this woman, her face suddenly darkened, and she said rudely, "Why are you here? You are not welcome here. Please leave quickly." Nakiri Shinagi snorted and said, "Is this all you have to say to your mother whom you haven't seen for a long time? You are really an unfilial daughter." Nakiri Arina responded without hesitation, "I don't have that kind of irresponsible mother." Nakiri Shinagi was not used to this daughter either. "It's really pitiful, Arina, because I haven't been with you for a long time, that's why you became so rebellious." Darkness was a little overwhelmed when she saw the mother and daughter quarreling. She seemed to want to try to persuade them, but for a moment she didn't know how. Seeing this, Luo Wei stopped Darkness and comforted, "It's okay, this is a mother and daughter exchanging feelings. We don't need to pay attention, just watch the show on the side." Darkness looked confused, "Is that so?" Nakiri Arina couldn't help but blush. Just like Luo Wei, she took a deep breath and said, "Anyway, I don't want to quarrel with you now, you should leave here quickly, you are not welcome here." Nakiri Shinagi smiled softly, pretending not to hear Arina's words, and saluted Luo Wei and Darkness. First meeting, Mr. Luo Wei, Miss Darkness. The little girl Nakiri Minagi is Arina's mother. Nakiri Arina snorted, but did not refute, because this was the truth. Although she doesn't want to have such a mother. Darkness quickly returned the greeting, "I am Darkness, Mrs. Nakiri." Luo Wei said, "Mrs. Nakiri, I am Luo Wei." Nakiri Shinagi said, "I heard that you two want to have a meal in Tatsuki. How about leaving today's lunch to the little girl to prepare? My cooking skills are still better than Arina's and I will never let you down." Quote. Darkness looked at Luo Wei. Luo Wei said with a smile, "Of course I believe, madam." In the original plot, Nakiri Minagi is the only specific executive of WGO and only appears at a few WGO meetings every year. Although she has been tasting food all the time, it would be nonsense to say that she doesn't know how to cook. This woman's divine tongue is even more powerful than Nakiri Arena, and it is natural that her cooking skills surpass Nakiri Arena's. There is no way, although Nakiri Arena is too young. Seeing Luo Wei judge so quickly, Nakiri Arena glared at Luo Wei. Nakiri Shinagi was not willing to let go of the opportunity to hit Arena. If you are not as good as others, you have to work hard. Arena, the Nakiri family does not have a tradition of incompetence and rage. Nakiri Arena said with a displeased look on her face. That's the long-winded, old woman. Nakiri Shinagi whispered, picked up a kitchen knife, and began to process the ingredients. The whole process was nothing short of flawless. Luo Wei has seen Nakiri Arena cooking, and the whole process looks pleasing to the eye, but compared with today's Nakiri Minagi, it is far behind. The gap between the two sides is visible to the naked eye. Nakiri Arena also realized this, and her face became even more unhappy. Half an hour later, Nakiri Minagi successfully prepared a table of dishes to reward Luo Wei and Darkness. Luo Wei and Darkness were naturally not polite and started to enjoy the meal. Want to taste the difference between you and me, Arena? Nakiri Shinagi placed a piece of charcoal grilled steak in front of Arena and said condescendingly. Nakiri Arena wanted to refuse, but the aroma that the steak kept releasing had aroused her appetite, and her tongue kept secreting saliva, telling Arena. It wants to eat, it wants to eat. In the end, Arena Nakiri couldn't resist the temptation, picked up a knife and fork, cut off a piece of steak, and stuffed it into her mouth. The moment the teeth bite, the rich juices of the steak explode instantly. The strong delicious taste hit Arena's mouth immediately. At this moment, Nakiri Arena felt like she had transformed into a cow on the prairie. She seemed to taste the taste of the prairie in the steak. Looking at Arena Nakiri, who was immersed in the delicious food, Nakiri Minagi sighed. You're still too young, Arena. But deep down, I was a little relieved, because this meant that Nakiri Arena's god's tongue had not been developed to the point where it was close to her own. This means that she can still eat normal food. This makes Nakiri Shinagi somewhat envious. Immediately, she abandoned Nakiri Arena and walked to sit next to Luo Wei. Your Excellency Luo Wei. Luo Wei, who was enjoying lunch, suddenly felt a mature and soft body leaning against him, and was stunned for a moment. He turned around and found Nagi Nakiri looking at him with a smile on his face. Mrs. Nakiri, what's wrong? Luo Wei subconsciously moved to the left, but Shinagi Nakiri followed closely, giving Luo Wei no room to breathe. Your Excellency Luo Wei, I wonder if you are satisfied with today's lunch. Luo Wei nodded, satisfied, so satisfied. Nakiri Minagi is indeed a woman who has developed the tongue of God to its peak. Today's lunch can be regarded as bringing out the taste of the ingredients to the extreme, which is far inferior to Nakiri Arena. Again, Arena is too young. If Arena Nakiri is given the same time, Luo Wei believes that Arena Nakiri will not be inferior to anyone. But now, it's still too tender. Nakiri Shinagi covered her mouth and smiled. It's great that Your Excellency Luo Wei is satisfied. If His Excellency Luo Wei needs it, I hope that I can become His Excellency Luo Wei's exclusive chef. Compared to my worthless daughter, I believe that I will make His Excellency Luo Wei taste the delicious food he has never tasted before. Luo Wei couldn't help being surprised when he heard this. Nakiri Shina actually wanted to become his own chef, which was something Luo Wei never expected. But he immediately reacted, you want to heal yourself with God's tongue. Nakiri Shinagi's body stiffened slightly, then softened, so Arena has already told you all these things. I know even if she doesn't say it. Luo Wei did not clarify this misunderstanding and said, actually, you don't have to be so wrong to become my exclusive chef. I remember that Arena bought some ingredients from another world yesterday, and you should be among them. With these ingredients from another world, you shouldn't have to worry about the trouble of God's tongue. Nakiri Shinagi nodded and said, what Mr. Luo Wei said is not unreasonable, but as a mother, I can't always look at my daughter's face. When Arena arrogantly threw the food in front of me yesterday, that his appearance is quite disgusting. Nakiri Shinagi said that she had never received such grievances since she was a child. Moreover, this grievance was caused by his own daughter. Who can I ask to explain to him? So you came to find fault with her today. Luo Wei couldn't help complaining in his heart, you two are really kind and filial. It's really filial piety. There is no need for a dedicated chef. Luo Wei said after thinking for a while, if you want to be self-reliant, I can take you to another world and help you register as an adventurer. Then you can join us to fight against monsters. Maybe as a reward, buy ingredients from another world. Hearing this, Nakiri Shinagi looked at Luo Wei carefully, and after making sure that Luo Wei was not joking with him, he agreed. Although in her mind, becoming Luo Wei's exclusive chef is definitely the best choice. But since Luo Wei had clearly refused, she was too embarrassed to force it. The days are long. Maybe there will be a turnaround in the future. After lunch, Luo Wei told him about Nakiri Shinagi joining his team, and Darkness naturally had no objection to this. On the contrary, it was Nakiri Arena who had a big opinion. Haha, why do you want her to join in? Nakiri Arena had a strong opinion on her mother and disliked her very much. Luo Wei said plausibly, they worked hard to prepare a delicious lunch for us. I must repay Mrs. Nakiri no matter what. Seeing that Luo Wei had made a decision that could not be changed, Nakiri Arena could only say, in this case, Hisako will also join in. Miss Nito Hisako looked at Arena with a moved expression. No problem, isn't he just a secretary? Nito Hisako. Sure enough, she didn't like Luo Wei at all. After lunch, Luo Wei took the two of them out of the world of the spirit of the shouting halberd and came to Axel to register as adventurers. Darkness still helped fill out the form. After the registration was completed, both Nakiri Shinagi and Secretary Ko touched the adventurer cards and displayed their values. Not much different from the original Luo Wei. The basic values are similar to ordinary people, and they can only change jobs and become adventurers. The counter girl Luna pulled Luo Wei aside and said, to be honest, the woman named Nakiri Shinagi is too big, so I personally don't mind her becoming an adventurer. Although adventurers make a lot of money, they do have to fight monsters, and they can easily lose their lives if they are not careful. Luo Wei has been here for so many days and has seen the corpses of many adventurers. Even the male protagonist of the beautiful world, Sato Kazuma, died several times. If there was not an Aqua beside him who could resurrect him at any time, Sato Kazuma would not be able to defeat the Demon King at all. This shows that the profession of adventurer is really no joke. It's okay. Luo Wei comforted, she is here to experience the life of an adventurer and will not go to any dangerous places. Luna, the counter girl, sighed quietly. She had already said everything that needed to be said. She had no choice but to do so if the other party insisted on doing so. Hope no tragedy will happen. After Nakiri Shinagi and Secretary Ko became adventurers, in order to quickly adapt to the life of adventurers, Luo Wei readily accepted a mission to defeat goblins and set off with the two girls. Leaving Axel, Luo Wei used his fantasy to materialize a car and drove everyone to the place where the goblins were. After understanding Luo Wei's ability, Nakiri Shinagi couldn't help but sigh. The ability to materialize fantasy is really a terrifying and convenient ability. With such an ability, you can even materialize nuclear bombs. Come out. Luo Wei said, I haven't tried it, but it should be possible. Darkness asked curiously, nuclear bomb, what is that? Luo Wei said, you can think of it as explosion magic, but it is much more powerful. If a nuclear bomb is dropped, the entire Axel or the royal capital will be reduced to ashes and cease to exist. Although the effect caused by explosion magic is similar to that of a nuclear bomb, its power is far inferior to that of a nuclear bomb. Of course, it may also have something to do with the magic power invested. The greater the magic power invested, the greater the power of the explosion magic. If a god casts explosive magic, it might be possible to increase the power of explosive magic to a level comparable to that of a nuclear bomb. Darkness opened her mouth in surprise. You can actually create such a powerful thing. Then if a nuclear bomb is used to destroy the Demon King's city, wouldn't it? Luo Wei knew what Darkness wanted to say, nodded and said, if nothing happens, the Demon King's city will also be wiped out and cease to exist. It's amazing. Darkness was shocked. Doesn't this mean that Luo Wei can easily defeat the Demon King's army and save the world? But Luo Wei has no intention of doing so. On the one hand, This is because the manifestation of his fantasy was obtained through illegal operations, and on the other hand, the Demon King's city also needs to be enchanted, and the enchantment has not been lifted. Luo Wei is not sure whether nuclear bombs can destroy Demon King City. If the Demon King's city is not destroyed but instead alarms the Demon King's army inside, Luo Wei will most likely be hunted down by the Demon King's army. After all, there are angels and gods among the cadres of the Demon King army. Luo Wei cannot bear it if he is chased by them. Therefore, let's leave the Demon King to Kazuma Sato to deal with. Luo Wei can just keep silent and make a fortune. Not long after, Luo Wei drove his car to the place where the goblins were. He parked the car aside, pointed to the path in front of him and said, "The next road must be moved forward by legs." With that said, he materialized 2 weapons and handed them to Nakiri Shinagi and Secretary Ko. These 2 weapons are not cold weapons, but pistols. Modern people are still more accustomed to this kind of hot weapons rather than cold weapons. After Nakiri Shinagi and the secretary took over the pistol, they immediately felt confident. This thing was their confidence. Luo Wei said as he walked, "Before meeting the goblins, I must remind you that although in the game, goblins and slimes are the weakest monsters, it seems that anyone can bully them. But in fact, goblins are not as weak as you think. These guys are ferocious and often appear in groups. Newbies like you who have not undergone any training will easily be defeated by the goblins if they encounter 3 or 4 goblins. And what goblins like most are female adventurers like you. After you are defeated by the goblins will capture you and use you as a tool for laying eggs. Goblins reproduce very quickly. They will be born in about a month and grow up in about 7 days. In other words, once you are caught by the goblins, the future waiting for you will be dark. Give me a moment." Nakiri Arena had goosebumps all over her body and quickly interrupted Luo Wei, "I suddenly feel that the act of conquering the goblins is too rash. How about we think about it seriously?" The secretary, who was already frightened, nodded crazily on the side. Although Nakiri Shinagi did not back down, her livid face also indicated that her heart was not at peace. As a woman, no one wants to be a goblin spawning tool. Only Darkness said with a puzzled look on her face, "Oh, do goblins really capture female adventurers? Why haven't I heard of anything like this happening?" The girls couldn't help but be stunned, and all looked at Luo Wei. Luo Wei slapped his head and said, "Ah, I forgot to tell you. The goblins I just mentioned don't seem to be goblins from this world, but goblins from another world. Because the goblins of that world had such a profound impact on me, I subconsciously confused the two. The goblins Luo Wei is talking about are of course the world of Goblin Slayer. Among the goblins in all the worlds, only the goblins in the brother-killing world are the most hateful." Darkness blushed and asked coyly, "So, are there really goblins who use female adventurers as tools?" Luo Wei seemed to be disgusted when he looked at her, but he also felt a little eager to try. In the end, he swallowed the words that came to his mouth and did not complain about Darkness. After all, it's not a crime to think about it. Human thoughts are the only ones. Same goes for XP. Indeed, it is, but not in this world, Luo Wei said, and then flatly refused before Darkness spoke. "Also, I will not take you to that world." Darkness' expression became visibly disappointed. But she soon became excited again and whispered, "This kind of refusal to play seems not bad." Luo Wei, he calmly distanced himself from Darkness, and said to Nakiri Shinagi and Secretary Ko, "Although the goblins in this world do not use women as tools, it is undeniable that they do kill. Cheer up and go without getting hurt." Nakiri Shinagi and Secretary Z nodded and tightened their grip on the firearms in their hands. In this situation, the only thing that could comfort them was the weapons in their hands. Soon, Luo Wei and his group discovered traces of the goblins. Behind a bush, several goblins were lazily basking in the sun. Even the sticks, daggers and other weapons in their hands were casually thrown to the ground. Highlights a free and loose attitude. No wonder it is used as experience by new adventurers. If the goblins hadn't reproduced and grown very quickly, they would have been exterminated by adventurers by now. After several people discovered the goblin, Luo Wei glanced at Nakiri Shinagi and Secretary Z, signaling them to take action. After some psychological preparation, the two women took the initiative. As a mature adult, Nakiri Shinagi could bear far more than a secretary. He immediately rushed out of the grass, raised his pistol, aimed at the goblin and pulled the trigger. Bang bang bang. With several gunshots, a goblin fell to the ground and died. Several other goblins found that their companions had been killed. Instead of being afraid, they hurriedly picked up the weapons on the ground and prepared to fight back. But Nakiri Shinagi moved quickly, turning his gun and aiming at the other goblins. After a few more shots, the goblins fell to the ground one after another. When one of the goblins saw this scene, he simply abandoned the weapon on the ground and rushed towards Nakiri Shinagi with all his teeth and claws. The ferocious face immediately startled Nakiri Minagi, and she took a step back. At the same time, the goblin had already sprinted in front of Minagi Nakiri and jumped towards Minagi Nakiri. Bump! But the next second, after a gunshot, the goblin fell in front of Nakiri Minagi like a kite with broken wings, completely dead. At the same time, the secretary also rushed out of the grass and shot at the goblin. The two of them worked together and quickly annihilated the goblins in the grass. The first battle was a brilliant victory. And this victory is more due to the weapons in their hands than their fighting skills. In fact, Nakiri Shinagi and Secretary Ko have no fighting skills at all. But Luo Wei still has to praise him for a job well done. There is a saying that goes, if there is one, there will be two. After the adventure of Nakiri Masagi and Secretary Ko had a good start, the following battle became easier. Luo Wei was responsible for finding goblins, while Nakiri Masagi and Secretary Ko were responsible for killing goblins. As for Nakiri Arena and Darkness, they were responsible for checking for omissions and filling in the gaps. The group of people cooperated very well. This battle against goblins also became extremely smooth. Not long after, the nearby goblins were cleared by Nakiri Masagi and Secretary Ko. This efficiency may not be achieved even if 2 or 3 adventurer teams came. And all this is thanks to the pistol made by Luo Wei, which is really easy to use. Facing goblins, it is basically one-shot one. There is no such thing as shovels and fighting. The whole scene is completely one-sided. This made Darkness more deeply aware of the power of modern firearms. There is really no comparison with ancient cold weapons. The operation to exterminate the goblins lasted until the afternoon. After the crusade, Nakiri Masagi and the secretary were upgraded and gained several skill points, enough to learn some skills. Luo Wei drove the girls back to Axel and reminded them on the way, skill points are very precious. You can learn tracking skills. You can learn the corresponding abilities according to your needs. The secretary looked at Nakiri Arena and asked carefully, "Miss, what skills have you learned?" Nakiri Arena did not hide it. "I learned a one-handed sword, some elementary elemental magic, and also learned skills such as trap making, which can better capture prey." Hearing this, the secretary fell into deep thought, as if thinking about what skills she should learn. Seeing this, Nakiri Arena whispered to the secretary about what kind of skills were suitable for her. Luo Wei saw that Nakiri Arena was worried about the secretary, so he stopped paying attention and asked Nakiri Masagi instead. "Mrs. Nakiri, what kind of skills do you want to learn?" Nakiri said without thinking, "I want to learn some skills that can make my body stronger." Over the years, she basically did not eat, relying on nutrients to provide the necessary nutrients for her body. The physical skills are fragile. This is why the counter Lady Luna secretly told Luo Wei that she was not suitable to be an adventurer. Because Nakiri is really too weak. Therefore, Nakiri wants a healthier body more than anyone else. After hearing this, Luo Wei said, "Then you can find Darkness. Her body is not only strong, but also terribly hard. Even the explosion magic may not be able to defeat it. She must have skills that can satisfy you." Nakiri looked at Darkness, and Darkness showed all the skills she knew very readily. In addition to physical resistance and magic resistance, Darkness also has mental resistance, weakness resistance, hunger resistance and other abnormal state resistance. Of course, there are also skills such as enhancing endurance and strengthening the body. Seeing this, Nakiri Shinagi decisively learned some related skills from Darkness. These skills are basically passive abilities. Once learned, the body will get better quickly. Before Nakiri Shinagi was added to the upgrade, her physical fitness had improved to a certain extent, so after she learned these skills, her physical fitness increased a lot in a trend visible to the naked eye. Upon leaving Axel, Nakiri Shinagi's body was not as good as that of a normal adult. But when she came back from Axel, the body of a normal adult was far inferior to that of Shinagi Nakiri today. At this moment, Nakiri Minagi felt the vitality of her body for the first time in a long time. Every cell and every organ seemed to be reborn. Now she can even defeat a strong man easily. If you continue to upgrade like this, let alone one strong man, even 100 strong men can easily deal with it. This made Nakiri Shinagi deeply realize that it was the right step to please Luo Wei and become an adventurer. She held this thigh tightly. In order to repay Luo Wei in darkness, after submitting the task and receiving the reward, Nakiri Shinagi used all the reward to buy ingredients from another world and cooked a sumptuous dinner for Luo Wei in darkness. After dinner, Luo Wei discussed with a few people the time for tomorrow's round. However, at this moment, Nakiri Arena suddenly said, "Sorry, I have something to do tomorrow and may be late, but I will handle these things as soon as possible." Darkness asked, "Do you need help?" Nakiri Arena shook her head and said confidently, "It's just a transfer exam." "Transfer exam, what is it?" Darkness asked confused. Nakiri Shinagi explained, "It's an exam for transfer students. After the summer vacation, Tatsuki Academy will start school soon. Most of the students will go from junior high school to high school. However, Tatsuki Academy will also give opportunities to some foreign students. As long as they can pass the transfer exam, they can directly enter the high school. In the final analysis, it's just a game played by a group of children." As the only specific executive officer of WGO, Nakiri Shinagi is fully qualified to look down on a group of students who have not yet enrolled. However, Luo Wei suddenly realized that when it came to the transfer student exam, it couldn't be the one that Soma Yukihira, the male protagonist of Shokugeki no Soma, took part in. He immediately thought of the dish Yukihira Soma was certified to cook during this exam. Yukihira's runny egg bibimbap. When reading comics in the past, Luo Wei felt that this egg mixed rice seemed delicious. Now that I have the opportunity to taste this egg bibimbap, Luo Wei feels that he should not miss it. Actually, I'm quite interested in this so-called transfer student exam. Arena, I'll take this exam with you tomorrow. Hey, Nakiri Arena was a little surprised, nodded and said, yes, but these foreign students may not have any good cooking. If you have any good cooking, you'll know if you try it. Luo Wei turned to look at Darkness. Would you like to come together, Darkness? Darkness pondered for a moment and said, since you said so, Luo Wei, let me join in, okay. Sure, Nakiri Arena agreed without hesitation and informed the transfer students of the exam time. So on the next day, Luo Wei took Darkness to the transfer examination location of Tatsuki Academy on time. Chapter 41. The venue for the transfer student examination was already crowded with people. Luo Wei and Darkness arrived at the examination location and saw a red-haired boy with scars at the corners of his eyes. This person is Soma Yukihira, the male protagonist of Shokugeki no Soma. The male protagonist is dressed in simple clothes, which looks out of place with the crowd around him. From the appearance, he looks like a husky among a group of wolves. But if you look at the strength, it's like a wolf breaking into a group of huskies. In the venue, in addition to Nakiri Arena and Secretary Z, Luo Wei also met Nakiri Minagi. Nakiri Shinagi saw Luo Wei walking into the venue and came up to him, complaining and said, it's just a test for a group of children. I really don't understand why, Mr. Luo Wei, you are so interested. If you want to taste the food, I can definitely make you a delicious meal 100 times better than these kids, Luo Wei. Luo Wei didn't care about Nakiri Minagi's complaint. Instead, he pointed at Yukihira Soma and said, have you seen that red-haired boy? Nakiri Shinagi let out a laugh and asked inexplicably, is there anything special about that red-haired boy? Luo Wei asked back, don't you think his hair color is serious? Nakiri Shinagi was stunned for a moment, then looked at Yukihira Soma carefully, and his voice gradually became lower, it does look familiar. I seem to have seen hair like that a long time ago. He should be Saiha's son, right? Quote. To be precise, his name should be Yukihira now. I heard he was married into the family. Luo Wei was not surprised at all why Nakiri Shinagi knew Soma Yukihira's father. After all, they were both students of Tatsuki Academy at that time. Nikiri Shinagi couldn't help but sneer, as if he wanted to say something, but in the end he didn't speak, and instead changed the topic. Your Excellency Luo Wei wants to visit today's transfer student examination. Isn't he here for this person? That's about right. I'm really looking forward to this guy's cooking. Nikiri Shinagi said. After hearing what Mr. Luo Wei said, I didn't expect it. Luo Wei heard this and said quickly, no need, this guy is too young. He is still far from meeting your expectations, and there is no way to satisfy your god's tongue, but there is hope for the future. While the two were having a conversation, Nikiri Arena also successfully used her identity as god's tongue to directly scare away most of the candidates and clean up the crowd present. In the end, only Soma Yukihira was left. Under the gaze of everyone, Yukihira Soma not only did not retreat, but said confidently, the candidate's question is about eggs, right? Nikiri Arena looked at Yukihira Soma with an unkind expression. Yes, the test topic is eggs, but you don't want to take the test, right? Doesn't this guy know his identity? Once he says it tastes bad, his career as a chef will be over. Faced with Nikiri Arena's threats, Kohei Soma smiled confidently. Of course, I have no intention of leaving in despair and being laughed at by my father when I go back. What's more, satisfying the tongues of picky customers is what a chef should do, isn't it? Nikiri Shinagi chuckled. This arrogant look is exactly the same as that guy Saiha. When Nikiri Arena heard the word Saiha, her ears immediately pricked up. After all, this surname is extraordinary in her heart. Nikiri Arena immediately asked, what's your name? Xingping Soma, what's wrong? Yukiping Soma said. Nikiri Arena couldn't help but look back at Nikiri Minagi. Hey, what did you mean by Saiha just now? Hey, what do you mean? You actually called your mother like that. You were really rude. Arena, I don't remember raising you to be such an rude child. Faced with Nikiri Minagi's continuous blows, Nikiri Arena's counterattack was fierce. I don't remember when I received your education. Also, what do you mean by Kaibo just now? She pointed at Yukihira Soma and said, what is the relationship between this guy and Mr. Saiha? Nikiri Shinagi said, looking at his hair, you should know that this guy is Seichiro Saba's son. Yukihira Soma was stunned for a moment, then corrected, although my father's name is indeed Seichiro, it's Yukihira Joichiro, not Saiha Seichiro. I'm not telling you the same person. No, we are talking about the same person. Nikiri Shinagi said with a smile but not a smile, it's just that Saiha changed his surname after getting married. Didn't he tell you about this? Not at all. Yukihira Soma shook his head without hesitation, and said with a look of realization, it turns out that my father is a bride-in-law. I can laugh at him for 10 years about this matter. After saying this, Yukihira Soma turned his back on what was going on outside the window and concentrated on the work at hand. After a while, a few simple dishes of Yukihira Ryo eggs transformed into bibimbap were ready. Nikiri Shinagi had to admit that when this little guy was serious, he really missed Saiha. But the cooking skills are completely different. Although this egg bibimbap is good and creative, it is still too tender if you want to impress yourself. Nikiri Shinagi didn't even have the desire to use chopsticks. On the contrary, Luo Wei and Darkness had already picked up the egg rice and started eating it with big mouthfuls. Luo Wei thought this egg mixed rice was delicious when he was watching the anime. Now that he tasted this dish, he realized that Yukihira Soma's cooking skills are indeed unexpected. Although it is not as good as Nikiri Minagi's cooking skills, it is indeed impressive. So Luo Wei ate cleanly. The same goes for Darkness. It tastes very good, Luo Wei said, and Darkness nodded. The reception was not good enough, please be more considerate. Xingping Soma smiled slightly and showed a confident expression again. Then, he looked at Nikiri Arena and Nikiri Minagi. Nikiri Arena looked at the egg rice with resistance on her face. Although she now knew that Yukihira Soma was Mr. Saba's son, this kind of civilian cuisine was still full of resistance. However, after hesitating for a while, Nikiri Arena picked up the egg rice and took a few bites. Then a qualified evaluation was given. This made the secretary a little surprised. She didn't expect that this humble-looking guy could satisfy the eldest lady's tongue. It's really awesome. It's not a good reception, it's not a good reception. Yukihira Soma burst out laughing and asked Nikiri Shinagi, aren't you going to eat? Nikiri Shinagi said calmly, your cooking is good, but it is still far away from Kaibo. You can't conquer my tongue now, but since Lord Luo Wei is optimistic about you, then you should work hard at Tatsuki Academy. After saying that, Nakiri Minagi turned around and left. After the transfer student exam, Soma Yukihira left Tatsuki Academy. Although he was qualified, he was happy and unremarkable. Because the woman's words kept lingering in his ears, he was cooking without even having the desire to use chopsticks. To be honest, this was a huge blow. By the way, who is this woman? Xingping Soma decided to ask his father, but when he got home, he found that his father was not at home. The restaurant at home is actually closed. Damn, Dad. Xingping Soma quickly took out his mobile phone and made a call. Hey, Dad, where are you? The sound of stir-frying in an iron pot came from the other side of the phone, as well as the voice of Yukihira Joichiro. Hey, Soma, how was your exam? Passed. Haha, you are indeed my son. Then you should work hard at Tatsuki Academy. I believe you will learn a lot in this academy. Dad. Xingping Soma hesitated to speak. What's wrong? Joichiro Yukihira quickly heard something was wrong with his son's voice and asked proactively, what happened? Yukihira Soma said, I met a woman during the exam today, and this guy said he knew you. Woman, who is it? I don't know, but this woman said that your name is Saiha and that you are the daughter-in-law of Yukihei's family. But these are not important. What is important is that the other party did not eat a bite of the food I made, and did not even think about using chopsticks. Yukihira Joichiro heard the unwillingness in his son's words, and a woman's vague voice instantly appeared in his mind. What's the name of the woman you're talking about? Yukihira Soma shook his head. I don't know, she didn't say her name, but that woman seems to be the mother of some eldest lady, and that eldest lady also has the tongue of God. Anyway, she looks super powerful. Yukihira Joichiro sighed faintly. I understand who you are talking about. That woman should be Nakiri Minagi. Who is that? An old friend, Yukihira Joichiro said. Because of her own reasons, that woman has difficulty swallowing ordinary food. If I want to conquer that tongue, even I can't do it. But Soma, I believe you will do it one day. Yukihira Soma laughed. His depressed mood suddenly disappeared, and he became proud and confident again. Who do you think I am? Yukihira Seichiro said happily. Yes, this time it is my son Seichiro. After the two chatted for a while, they hung up the phone, and Yukihira Joichiro's expression suddenly became serious. That woman actually returned to her original state. What did the commander-in-chief do? With a trace of doubt, Yukihira Joichiro called Nakiri Senziman's phone number. Nakiri Senziman did not talk much on the phone, but said, a new era has arrived. Seichiro, if you want to catch the express train of the new era, come back to Tatsuki. Yukihira Joichiro knew very well that the commander-in-chief was not the kind of person who aimed for nothing, so with curiosity, he embarked on the road back to Tatsuki. On the other hand, after the transfer student exam was over, Luo Wei returned to the beautiful world with Nakiri Arena, Nakiri Shinagi, Secretary Z, and Darkness, and returned to the novice town Axel. Continue your upgrade journey, mainly the upgrades of Nakiri Shinagi and Secretary Ko. Under the protection of Luo Wei and Darkness, the two people's levels improved smoothly, reaching level 10 one after another. And Nakiri Arena's level has also reached level 15. In a sense, several people are already qualified adventurers. As for Luo Wei, he has reached level 30. The reason why Luo Wei improved so quickly was not by defeating monsters. After all, Axel is just a novice adventure town, and the surrounding monsters are not enough to allow Luo Wei to level up so quickly, just like riding a rocket. The reason why Luo Wei upgraded so quickly was Wiz. Luo Wei has always cooperated with Wiz before, selling handicrafts, spices and other things. These things are now all borne by the Ball Chamber of Commerce. Luo Wei supplies thousands of kilograms of spices every day. Except for a small part that is left for sale in the store, most of it is bought by the Ball Chamber of Commerce. One day's income is hundreds of millions of aris. In this case, Wiz's coffers quickly filled up. At least 50% of this money belongs to Luo Wei. Not long ago, Wiz left Axel and went out to buy goods. He also bought a lot of useless and unsellable props from a certain Chunabu injured person. But all the money was Wiz's money. Wiz did not use Luo Wei's money indiscriminately, but used it all to help Luo Wei buy experience potions. It was with the help of these experience potions that Luo Wei made a leap in level, and now he has become an adventurer with a level exceeding level 30. In other words, Luo Wei is a genuine Krypton Gold player. After upgrading, Luo Wei received a large number of skill points as always. So he spent a lot of skill points, and Wiz learned the skill he had coveted for a long time, teleportation magic. Wiz was naturally not stingy and taught this magic to Luo Wei, and carefully warned, teleportation magic is a very high-end and very dangerous magic. This magic has a characteristic. If you want to go to a certain place, you must leave the coordinates at this place. If there are no coordinates, teleportation magic will immediately teleport you to the wilderness. Perhaps in front of some super dangerous monsters. So after learning this magic, please be sure to use it with caution. Luo Wei is not a person who refuses to listen to advice. Since Wiz said so, Luo Wei would naturally not follow Wiz and fight against him. He solemnly told Wiz, "Don't worry, I will definitely use teleportation magic with caution." Seeing that Luo Wei was so obedient, Wiz nodded with relief. It is also worth mentioning that Luo Wei discovered that teleportation magic is somewhat similar to the Flying Thunder God Jutsu in the Naruto world. The Book of Flying Thunder God can only be used after the coordinates are engraved. The same goes for teleportation magic. It was not as convenient as Luo Wei imagined. In Luo Wei's view, the really convenient teleportation magic should be the teleportation that Sun Wukong knows in the Dragon Ball world. You can really go wherever you want. And TMD can move across planets. This is very nice. If given the chance, Luo Wei would definitely go to the Dragon Ball world and learn this teleportation technique. No, Luo Wei suddenly realized that if Luo Wei really arrived in the Dragon Ball world one day, he would not only have to learn the art of teleportation, but also learn how to make Dragon Balls. This is the big deal. However, the Dragon Ball world is extremely dangerous. If you want to move freely in the Dragon Ball world, you must have the ability to explode stars. This is the bottom line. If you don't have the ability to explode stars, you can't get along in this extremely dangerous Dragon Ball world. I'm getting off topic. After Luo Wei learned the teleportation magic, he left a teleportation point in Axel so that he could return to Axel at any time. In this way, when he defeats monsters, he doesn't need to spend a lot of time on the road. This is undoubtedly a happy thing. However, there is an idiom called double happiness. Not long after Luo Wei learned to teach magic, good news came from the goddess Eris. These days, she and the two goddesses Hephaestus and Hestia have been studying day and night, and finally merged part of the adventurer system with the grace of God. Created the God's Favor 2.0 version. To put it bluntly, it is to upgrade the God's Favor. After the upgrade, the God's Favor has the ability to kill monsters and level up, which it did not have before. From then on, adventurers who have received the God's Favor can also gain experience points and level up by killing monsters, just like the adventurer system in the beautiful world. There is no doubt that this is a very beautiful improvement. From then on, the God's Favor mastered by Hephaestus and Hestia will be one version higher than the God's Favor mastered by other priests in the labyrinth city of Orario. When the two goddesses Hephaestus and Hestia use the God's Favor on their own families, the growth of their two family members will exceed that of other families. In the long run, the families of the two people will completely dominate the labyrinth city of Orario. But unfortunately, one of these two goddesses has no family, and the other is a craftsman family, only interested in forging, and has no interest in dominating the labyrinth city of Orario. In a sense, this is also a kind of balance. After the new version of God's Grace was updated, Luo Wei naturally wanted to experience it. However, at this time, the two goddesses Hephaestus and Hestia had a little conflict. Both goddesses wanted to give God's grace to Luo Wei. To put it bluntly, they wanted to include Luo Wei in their own family. After all, everyone knows the importance of Luo Wei. Whether it is Hephaestus or Hestia, once Luo Wei is included in their family will take off on the spot. Therefore, neither goddess is willing to give Luo Wei to the other. Hephaestus said with a fake smile, "You don't even have a member of your familia, how about giving Luo Wei to me?" "Of course not," Hestia flatly refused, and then said, "Who said I don't have a familia? Irina Nakiri is a member of my familia, and I can establish my own familia soon. Then she rolled her eyes and said to Luo Wei, do you want to join my familia, Luo Wei? As long as you are willing to join my familia, you will be the leader. I can let you manage all the affairs in the familia. You are the boss of Hestia's familia who has the final say. Too despicable, Hestia. Hephaestus did not expect Hestia to do this, and immediately fell into a passive position. After all, she couldn't let Luo Wei become the group leader. Chun also did a good job. She was the leader she carefully selected and was respected by countless people in the Hephaestus familia. Hephaestus believed that most of the family members would not accept Chun's replacement suddenly. However, Hephaestus was not an idiot and quickly thought of another way. Luo Wei, although I cannot make you the leader of the Hephaestus familia, I can make you the deputy leader. You must know that our Hephaestus familia is the leading commercial family in the Labyrinth City Orario. It is completely different from some of the familia that have not yet been established. This sentence suddenly hurt my heart. Hestia felt like she had been punched hard, and tears were about to burst out. Seeing that the friendship between these two goddesses for many years is about to collapse. Luo Wei hurriedly said, well, two goddesses, how about you two playing guessing games? Whoever wins, I will join their family. Hephaestus and Hestia looked at each other and felt that this proposal was very good. Not only would it not hurt their previous feelings, it would also make the other party willing to admit defeat. In that case, don't blame me. Hestia was eager to give it a try. I should be the one to say this. Hephaestus was not to be outdone, and the two goddesses stared at each other, their momentum gradually becoming high, as if they would give each other a fatal blow next. Darkness, Irina Nakiri, Minagi Nakiri, and the secretary were oppressed by the momentum of the two people, and huddled in the corner and shivered. The two goddesses are so scary when they take it seriously. Luo Wei said, I will be the referee. Another thing worth mentioning is whether you two plan to decide the outcome in 1 round or in 3 rounds. Of course the outcome is determined by 1 round, by Hephaestus. Of course it's a best of 3 games, by Hestia. As soon as the words came out, the two people were stunned at the same time. Hephaestus couldn't help but laugh. You actually have to win 2 out of 3 games, Hestia, you must be afraid, right? Hestia raised her chest and crushed everyone present, who is afraid. The outcome is determined by 1 round. Come on, I will definitely defeat you this time. Hephaestus smiled slightly and said, I'll wait and see. Luo Wei said, 3, 2, 1, start. Hestia and Hephaestus took action at the same time. One is a fist and the other is scissors. It was Hephaestus who used the fists, and Hestia who used the scissors. The outcome has been decided, and the winner is Hephaestus. Luo Wei loudly announced the result of this competition. Hestia's legs weakened, and she knelt on the ground with a plop, supporting the ground with her hands. She fell into an inexplicable depression. Why did I produce scissors? Why did I produce scissors? Hephaestus couldn't bear to see this, but she did not give up Luo Wei to Hestia. It was related to the development of the family, so Hephaestus would not be soft-hearted and waste this good opportunity. Come on, Luo Wei. Luo Wei nodded and followed Hephaestus back to her family. In Hephaestus' room, Hephaestus took out a knife and said, take off your clothes. Luo Wei nodded, quickly took off his upper body clothes, and lay on the bed. Having read the plot, he certainly knew that when the gods bestowed favors on members of the clan, they would usually engrave the favors on the backs of adventurers. The purpose of this is to maintain confidentiality. After Hephaestus saw Luo Wei lying down, he cut his finger with a knife, dripped a few drops of blood, and entered Luo Wei's back. This is the blood of the gods, containing an updated version of divine favor. After the divine blood entered Luo Wei's body was engraved with the favor of God. From then on, Luo Wei became a member of the Hephaestus familia. If nothing else, things should develop like this. However, the accident finally occurred. And it's still surprising. But after Hephaestus integrated her divine blood into Luo Wei's body did not change at all, and Hephaestus did not feel that Luo Wei had joined her family. Because there is no message of God's grace behind him. This surprised Hephaestus, so she dropped a few drops of blood again without believing in evil. God's favor still did not appear. Strange, Hephaestus couldn't help but frown. Luo Wei asked. What's going on? Hephaestus said. I seem to be unable to engrave God's grace on you. Is there such a thing? Luo Wei climbed up from the bed and looked at Hephaestus. The two people stared at each other. Hephaestus said, is it possible that there is something wrong with the updated version of God's favor? She couldn't figure it out, so she could only go to Hestia and the others. But when the two found Hestia, Hestia had already collected all the lost things and developed Nakiri Arena, Secretary Ko, and Nakiri Minagi into her own family. As long as they register with the Union, the Hestia Familia will be established. When Hestia heard Hephaestus' intention, she couldn't help but open her eyes wide and said decisively, there is nothing wrong with God's favor, Arena and the others can testify. I understand, it must be that you are not suitable to be Luo Wei's god, so Luo Wei's body rejects you. As long as I take action, there will be no problem. Hephaestus naturally didn't believe Hestia's lies and sneered a few times and said, ha, you can try it. Just try it. Hestia immediately pulled Luo Wei into her room, asked Luo Wei to take off his clothes, pricked his finger, and smeared blood on Luo Wei's back. In order to make Luo Wei a member of her own family, Hestia did not hesitate to bleed. But the result is still useless. Luo Wei's body did absorb the divine blood, but it was not engraved with divine favor. This puzzled Hestia. Something is wrong. The two women discussed it and came to no conclusion about the disappearance, so they simply followed Luo Wei to the wonderful world and found the goddess Eris. The goddess Eris was also a little surprised when she heard about these things. Because she has determined that there is no problem with the upgraded God's favor. If you want to ask me why, it is naturally because Eris has given God's favor to her believer and friend Darkness. To put it bluntly, from now on, Darkness can call herself a member of the Eris Familia. Can I check on you? Eris asked. Luo Wei also wanted to know what was wrong with his body and nodded, no problem. Eris grabbed Luo Wei's hand and sent a burst of divine power into Luo Wei's body, but after checking for a long time, no problem was found. The two girls, Hestia and Hephaestus, did not believe in evil, so they broke the seal and used their divine power to examine Luo Wei's body. However, at this moment, their divine power entered Luo Wei's body. Hidden within Luo Wei's body, the divine blood of the two goddesses was activated. The divine blood and divine power merged into one, and were quickly absorbed by Luo Wei's body. Luo Wei's body has also undergone earth-shaking changes. He felt that something in his body seemed to be activated, absorbing the power sent by the two goddesses bit by bit. The two girls also noticed this at the same time and couldn't help but look at each other in surprise. However, neither goddess took back their divine power, but sent their divine power into Luo Wei's body at the same time. Both Hephaestus and Hestia are gods who have lived for hundreds of millions of years and have accumulated a lot of divine power. The divine power Luo Wei absorbed was just a drop in the bucket to them. The two goddesses didn't care at all. Half an hour later, Luo Wei's body absorbed about 1% of the divine power of the two goddesses and was finally saturated. At the same time, Luo Wei seemed to hear a crisp sound. At this moment, he felt that his body had undergone quite subtle changes, as if he had broken out of his cocoon and turned into a butterfly. His body felt relaxed, even light. At this time, Luo Wei felt that he had become stronger than ever. Not only that, he also felt that his talent had changed tremendously. He raised his hand and tapped it in the air. Layers of transparent ripples appeared in the air, and then a whirlpool door to another world opened. On the other side of the door, there is actually a different world. Hephaestus' bedroom. Now Luo Wei no longer needs a physical door to use his abilities to travel to other worlds. I have to say, this is a wonderful change. But this isn't the final change. Luo Wei vaguely felt that there was something else in his body, so he summoned this thing with a thought. A property panel appeared in front of Luo Wei out of thin air. What's even more interesting is that this attribute panel is somewhat similar to a collection of adventurer cards and God's favor ability values. Name: Luo Wei. Race: Dimensional God. Level: LV.1. Skill: Elementary Elemental Magic. Can skillfully use various primary magics. Teleportation magic. You can quickly reach any place through the teleport point. If there is no teleport point, you will be teleported to any place immediately. Steel defense. It has steel-like defense and is immune to ordinary attacks. Fantasy materialized. You can create a variety of items based on your imagination, but you cannot create life, energy, celestial bodies, planets and other large objects out of thin air. Dimensional gate. You can open the door to another dimension and reach a whole new world. Family members. 0. Luo Wei couldn't help but be shocked when he saw this attribute panel. Good guy, have you become a god? To be honest, Luo Wei has no doubts about whether he will soon become a god. With a door that can travel to other worlds, Luo Wei feels that it is only a matter of time before he becomes a god. But even though Luo Wei is full of confidence in himself, he thinks that he wants to become a god only after a long, long time, maybe 100 years later, maybe 1,000 years later. But no matter what, one day he will eventually become a god. However, what he never expected was that he would become a god so quickly. How long has it been? After all the calculations, Luo Wei became a god in less than 3 months since he obtained the golden finger. Regardless of whether he himself was startled, even Eris, Hestia, and Hephaestus were startled. Luo Wei, you have become a god. Hestia looked puzzled. What the hell is going on? On the contrary, Hephaestus vaguely understood something and said, no wonder Hestia and I can't turn you into our familia with the sword. It turns out that the power in your body is not simple from the beginning. Eris also reacted and said, the ability to travel through the world in your body is likely to come from a certain high-level god. After this ability is integrated into your body, it begins to subtly transform your body. But this kind of transformation is very slow, so slow that even we don't notice it. So in our eyes, you are still a human being. However, after you absorbed the blood and power of Hephaestus and Hestia, this ability blossomed and transformed you into this dimensional god. Is that so? Luo Wei didn't quite understand, but felt that Eris wouldn't lie. Eris asked curiously, where did the ability in your body come from? Luo Wei shook his head and said, I'm not sure. Anyway, after I recovered from a special cold, I suddenly had this strange ability. Eris, this is really a power given to me by a high-level god. Why did he give me such power? Eris was silent for a moment. In fact, he didn't know very well. On the contrary, Hephaestus said slowly, it may not be given to you. Maybe this is your original power. What do you mean? Luo Wei asked curiously. Hephaestus said, there may have been a powerful god in your ancestors, and his power has been passed down in the blood of your descendants. Normally, this power would not be displayed, and then it happened to be activated in your generation. Quote, this is called skipped generation inheritance. When Luo Wei heard these words, he immediately thought of someone. Yusuke Urameshi, the male protagonist of Yu Yu Hakusho's world. This guy's father and mother are ordinary people, but he himself is a hybrid of human and demon. This is because his ancestor Lei Chan is one of the giants of the demon world. Lei Chan was originally the most powerful monster in the demon world and was called the god of fighting by other monsters. He killed and cannibalized people wantonly in order to fill his stomach, until he met a strange woman who despised him and faced him bravely. Lei Chan fell in love with this woman and mated with her. In addition, the demon clan gave birth to you after a long life. Helps ancestors. Lei Chan decided not to kill or eat people again before seeing this woman again, but the woman died after giving birth to Yusuke's ancestor, and her reincarnation did not appear again for 700 years. Lei Chan also so he went on a hunger strike for 700 years. 700 years later, Yusuke Urameshi was born, but he awakened the bloodline of monsters. This is the great inheritance across generations. If Luo Wei's ancestors really had a powerful ancestor, then it is not impossible for Luo Wei to awaken such power. But intuition told Luo Wei that this answer was not quite right. His ancestors were most likely ordinary people, and the source of his power was not inherited from the previous generation. It was from another source. As for the source of this power, Luo Wei was not very clear. But Luo Wei believed that as long as he became incomparably powerful, the source of this power would not be too important. Even if there was a conspiracy, he could break it by force with his own strength. Thinking of this, Luo Wei laughed. Okay, don't worry about it. Do you think I should try to find a family? Luo Wei looked at his attribute panel and said to Eris, Hephaestus and others. Maybe this panel will have new changes. Eris, Hephaestus, and Hestia thought this was a good idea. They also wanted to know what kind of changes would happen to Luo Wei's attribute panel after he contracted the family. Hephaestus asked, "Who are you going to find?" Luo Wei thought for a moment, and the lowly magician Wei Wei who liked explosion magic, or Yukihira Soma who liked cooking, flashed through Luo Wei's mind one by one. Finally, Luo Wei said, "I decided to find Wiz. Wiz is not only a lich, but also a super powerful magician. If Wiz can be developed into his own family, it can be said that the benefits are unlimited." However, Luo Wei still has some doubts about whether Wiz is willing to become his family. But he did not back down and decided to give it a try. If it doesn't work, it won't be too late to find someone else. After making the decision, Luo Wei immediately said goodbye to the goddesses and came to Wiz's shop in a hurry. "Wiz, Wiz." Luo Wei pushed the door in and saw that there was no one at the counter, so he shouted twice. "Here." Wiz's voice came from under the counter. Wiz picked up a box full of props and stood up, and put the box on the counter table. "What do you want to talk to me about, Luo Wei?" Although the two had known each other for a short time, they had become good friends, so Wiz was not polite. Luo Wei nodded, walked to Wiz, and said straight to the point, "Become my familiar, Wiz." "Huh." Wiz looked at Luo Wei in surprise, not understanding, what does the word, familiar, mean? Luo Wei said nothing and directly released his attribute panel for Wiz to read. God. God. But when Wiz saw that Luo Wei's race was a dimensional god, he couldn't help but open his mouth wide. "Luo Wei, so you are a god. To be honest, I didn't expect that I was actually a god." Luo Wei also sighed. Some things developed too fast, even he was a little caught off guard. But Luo Wei invited Wiz again, "Will you become my familiar, Wiz?" "Huh." This time Wiz finally understood the meaning of Luo Wei's words, and couldn't help but scream in surprise. Me. Wiz pointed a finger at himself and asked in disbelief. Luo Wei nodded, "Yes, it's you. Don't you want to, Wiz?" "No, of course not." Wiz waved his hand quickly, looking serious. "I mean, I'm a lich, choosing a lich but my own family, is there really no problem?" Luo Wei said, "No problem, I have the final say on who to choose as my family. But I'm still a cadre of the Demon King's army." "I know, but you haven't been rewarded, and you're just responsible for the barrier, right?" Luo Wei has read the plot anyway, and he knows who Wiz is. To be frank, this woman is really suitable to be his family. Seeing that Wiz was still hesitant, Luo Wei sighed and pretended to be disappointed and said, "Wiz, if you really don't want to, I won't force you." Wiz waved his hand quickly, "No, that's not what I mean, it's better to say that I'm happy." "That's great." Luo Wei looked happy. Since ancient times, true love cannot be retained, only routines can win people's hearts. Wiz asked, "Then what should I do?" Luo Wei materialized a cup of water, then added a drop of his own blood to the cup of water and handed it to Wiz. Intuition told Luo Wei that this was the right thing to do. "After drinking it, you will be my family." "I understand." Wiz took the cup of water and found that after Luo Wei dripped his blood into the cup of water, the liquid in the cup turned red in an instant. Red as blood. It was as if this cup of water was no longer water, but a cup of blood. For some reason, Wiz suddenly longed for this cup of water and drank it down with a gulp. The next second, Luo Wei felt a wonderful feeling connecting the two people. From now on, Luo Wei is Wiz's god, and Wiz is Luo Wei's family. The lives of the two people are connected together. At the same time, Luo Wei also found that the family in the attribute panel had changed. Family members. Lich Wiz. At the same time, Luo Wei also found that the name of the Lich Wiz was glowing and seemed to be clickable. So Luo Wei clicked it. A new dialogue box appeared in front of Luo Wei. There was a sentence written on it. "Legendary life Lich Wiz has become your family, and from now on you will be closely connected. Lich Wiz will be protected by you, as long as you don't die, Lich Wiz will not die. Even if he dies, he can get a new life with the help of your hand. You can share one of your abilities with Lich Wiz. You can also share an ability from Lich Wiz." Luo Wei couldn't help but open his eyes wide when he saw this. Good guy, as long as he doesn't die, Wiz won't die. Isn't this a bit too buggy? Luo Wei couldn't help but look at Wiz. Wiz also saw this and couldn't help saying, so, from now on, I won't die. This is awesome. This ability is really awesome. Luo Wei nodded, it seems to be really awesome, but I don't know how effective it is. Wiz blinked and said, do you want to try it? Luo Wei shook her head decisively, forget it, don't try it, it's too dangerous. Wiz smiled and said, what does it matter? I won't really die anyway. Luo Wei still shook her head, let's talk about it later. How about we try to share this ability? I can share an ability from you, and you can share an ability from me. Wiz nodded, and with a thought, a sharing panel that was somewhat similar to Luo Wei appeared in front of her out of thin air. Name, Wiz. Race, Lich. Level, LV.1. Skill, Elementary Elemental Magic. Can skillfully use various primary magics. Intermediate Elemental Magic. Can skillfully use various intermediate magics. Advanced Elemental Magic. Can skillfully use advanced elemental magic. Explosive magic. The legendary powerful super advanced magic can cause huge destructive power. Teleportation magic. You can quickly reach any place through the teleport point. If there is no teleport point, you will be teleported to any place immediately. Defensive magic. Can skillfully use various defensive magics. Enchantment magic. Can skillfully use various enchantments. Life absorbed. The Lich's unique skill can absorb the target's life and magic, and it can also distribute its own physical strength and magic power to the target. Immortal body. Under the protection of the dimensional god, there will be no real death. Familia. Dimensional god Luo Wei. Seeing this panel, Luo Wei couldn't help but exclaim, luxury, it's too luxurious. Not to mention anything else, Luo Wei was stunned just by talking about those magics. But what Luo Wei didn't expect was that Wiz's level would be level 1. Luo Wei couldn't help but ask, Wiz, has there been any change in your strength? Wiz shook his head and said, nothing has changed. Luo Wei said, oh, it seems that once he accepts and becomes his family, everyone's initial level will become level 1. But the strength will not change in any way. This does have some meaning. Luo Wei thought for a while and asked, Wiz, can I share your life absorption skill? Wiz agreed without hesitation. Of course there is no problem. So Luo Wei chose to share the life absorption skill of Lich Wiz, and Luo Wei had an extra life absorption skill in his skill column. Life absorption from the ability of the legendary life form Lich Wiz. The Lich's unique skill can absorb the target's life and magic, and can also distribute its own physical strength and magic power to the target. Seeing this, Luo Wei nodded with satisfaction and asked, then what ability do you plan to share with me, the manifestation of fantasy or the dimensional gate? Compared with Lich Wiz, Luo Wei's skills are too shabby, and currently he can only use these 2 skills. But it is undeniable that these 2 skills are very terrifying. Even the Lich Wiz was very amazed and was in a dilemma. She wants to make her fantasy come true, because with this, she doesn't have to buy any more. She can create magic props with her own ability. But the dimensional gate is also very good. After possessing this skill, she can travel to other worlds and see different scenery. But unfortunately, you can only choose one ability sharing at present. After a fierce struggle, Wiz finally chose the ability to manifest fantasy. She is no longer the reckless risk-taker. Instead of exploring a new world, why not just run your own shop honestly? Hey, this is nothing, this is too exaggerated. Quote. In the spacious room, Hestia listened to Luo Wei's story and couldn't help but burst into flames. Not long ago, Luo Wei turned Wiz into his own and came back to show off to the 3 goddesses Hestia, Hephaestus, and Eris. After hearing this, the 3 goddesses were stunned. Hestia was even more excited and couldn't control herself. Immortal body, ability sharing, what does this mean? This is too foul. Hephaestus nodded with deep understanding, yes, it is indeed very foul. Not to mention other things, just talking about the immortal body is enough to make the labyrinth city Orario excited. As long as Luo Wei does not die, his family members will not really die. If Luo Wei goes to the labyrinth city Orario to become a familia, it will definitely arouse the madness of all adventurers. Perhaps it will take less than a few years to reach the peak, surpassing the previous familia of Zeus and familia of Hera. After all, this ability is too foul. She was jealous with envy. Goddess Eris even said, Luo Wei, please turn darkness into your family. Luo Wei couldn't help but said, that's no need, Goddess Eris. Of course he knew that Eris was worried about darkness' safety, so he wanted Luo Wei to take darkness into his family for a higher level of insurance. In the future, even if darkness really dies accidentally, she can be resurrected by Luo Wei's hands. But the problem is that the wonderful world has the skill of resurrection. As the god who manages this world, Eris naturally also masters this skill. In the original plot, Sato Kazuma died many times, but Aqua resurrected him, but Eris has always been responsible for the aftermath. If darkness does die, Eris is fully capable of resurrecting her. What's more, darkness has now accepted Eris's divine favor and is considered a dependent of Eris. Luo Wei is really embarrassed to compete with Eris for the family members. Eris said, I know what you are thinking. I can resurrect darkness in this world, but what if darkness encounters danger in other worlds one day? Luo Wei fell into silence after hearing this. He has become good friends with darkness now. It is normal to invite darkness to travel to other worlds. Although Luo Wei felt that he would not invite darkness to those dangerous worlds. But don't be afraid of 10,000, just be afraid of the eventuality. In the end, at Eris's insistence, Luo Wei agreed to darkness, but before that, he decided to ask darkness's opinion before answering. What do you think, darkness? Darkness said, I am a believer in Eris, and this will not change in any way. Even if I become your dependent, I will only believe in the goddess Eris. If you can accept it, Luo Wei, I have no problem. Quote. Then I have no problem. Luo Wei agreed readily. Although he is a god, he does not require others to believe in him. Especially since darkness is still his good friend. Afterwards, Luo Wei gave darkness a glass of water dripping with his own blood, and successfully turned darkness into his dependence. Name, darkness. Race, human. Level, LV.1. Skill, strong. Your body is stronger than the average person. Physical resistance. Your body can defend against most physical attacks. Abnormal status resistance. Your body can be in various abnormal states, including rage, depression, weakness, etc. Magic resistance. Your body can greatly defend against magical attacks. Familia. Dimensional god Luo Wei. Luo Wei clicked his tongue. Although darkness's skills were not as gorgeous as Lich Wiz's, they were still very terrifying. Especially her physical resistance, abnormal status resistance, and magic resistance were surprisingly powerful. After some selection, Luo Wei chose the skill of physical resistance to share with himself to make his body more powerful. Darkness hesitated before the three skills of fantasy embodiment, dimension gate, and teleportation magic. But in the end, she chose the dimensional gate at the suggestion of Eris. Then something interesting happened. But after darkness selected the dimensional gate, a prompt suddenly popped up on the attribute panel. This ability is the original ability of dimensional god Luo Wei and cannot be fully shared. Whether to insist on sharing. Open black lens bracket whether close black lens bracket. Everyone was stunned for a moment and looked at Luo Wei in unison. Luo Wei was also a little confused. In fact, he didn't know about this wonderful change. How about you give it a try? Darkness agreed and chose yes. You chose the shared dimensional gate defective version. You can only go to the world that dimensional god Luo Wei has been to. Luo Wei couldn't help but be stunned. How many worlds has he visited so far? The world of Dikuo, the beautiful world, the world of the spirit of the halberd, and the world where I was originally. In other words, darkness can only travel around these 4 worlds at present. Only when she opens up a new world can darkness go to the new world. This was something that no one expected, but in this way, darkness' safety was guaranteed. When Hephaestus saw this, his eyes flickered, and he suddenly said, Darkness, the dimensional gate ability you have mastered will allow you to travel to another world alone, or will it allow you to bring others with you? Darkness wasn't sure, so she said, I'll give it a try. Then, she raised her hand and clicked in the air. However, nothing happened. Darkness did not open the door to the world of Earth. Darkness looked confused. She had seen Luo Wei do this before, opening the door directly in the air. Why can't I do it myself? Hephaestus said, Your ability is flawed, how about trying to open a physical door? After being reminded, darkness also reacted. When she saw the door handle of the room, she slowly walked over, held the door handle, took a deep breath and pushed the door open. What appeared behind the door was the otherworld, Hephaestus's room. Darkness has followed Luo Wei here several times and is very familiar with this place. Everyone passed through this dimensional door and entered the earthly world. This means that in the future, darkness can travel around several worlds even without Luo Wei. Hephaestus immediately saw the value behind this ability. Although Luo Wei has been to very few of the worlds so far. But as time goes by, Luo Wei has been to more and more worlds, so there will be more and more worlds that darkness can go to. This is undoubtedly a great thing for a dependent family. The emergence of the dimensional gate is a good thing for any family. But the bad thing is that no one from the Hestia Familia or the Hephaestus Familia has mastered this ability. If you want to travel to other worlds, you must use Luo Wei, or darkness. This is too passive for a family member. Hephaestus immediately said, Luo Wei, I will build an artifact for you. Can you share the ability of the dimensional gate with Chun, the leader of the Hephaestus Familia? She hopes that her family members can also master this ability. Luo Wei was stunned and said, Goddess Hephaestus, Chun should be your family. Are you willing to let her join my family? In name only, Hephaestus said. No problem. Luo Wei agreed readily. Goddess Hephaestus, you have helped me so much, I am still willing to help you with this small favor. You don't have to build a divine weapon for me, this should be very precious. Luo Wei really wants the artifact, but is unwilling to exchange it in this way. After all, Hephaestus contributed too much to make him what he is today, so Luo Wei is willing to return to Hephaestus. Hephaestus said, it's just an artifact, not a good thing. For her, an artifact can be easily forged. But, Luo Wei's favor is much more valuable than the artifact. So she would rather make artifacts for Luo Wei and trade with Luo Wei than spend this favor. Not a good deal. Luo Wei turned to look at Hestia and asked, Hestia, would you like to send someone out to share the ability of the dimensional gate? Oh, can you, but I don't have the ability to help you build a magical weapon. It doesn't matter. What I am today depends on your help. Isn't it natural to give you a small reward? Hestia smiled happily, looked back at Nakiri Minagi, Nakiri Arena, and the secretary, and said, then please give this ability to Nakiri Minagi. A proud smile suddenly appeared on Nakiri Shinagi's face. He glanced at his daughter Nakiri Arena and walked to Luo Wei. Please give me your advice, Your Excellency Luo Wei. Luo Wei handed over a glass of water mixed with his own blood and asked, so, you have become the leader of the Hestia Familia. Nakiri Shinagi covered her mouth and smiled. Since the three of us are good at cooking, of course we will use our cooking skills to decide who is the leader. This sentence undoubtedly acknowledges Luo Wei's guess. Luo Wei complained, you are really cunning. Although Nakiri Arena and Secretary Ko have promising futures, they are really not opponents of the same level compared to Nakiri Minagi, who has already realized their abilities. Nakiri Shinagi said calmly, sometimes, age is also an advantage. Then, she drank the water handed over by Luo Wei, concluded a contract with Luo Wei, and became Luo Wei's dependent family. Name, Nakiri Shinagi. Race, human. Level, LV.1. These things look quite normal, not much different from others. However, in terms of skills, Luo Wei was quite surprised. Because in addition to the skills that Nakiri Shinagi learned in the beautiful world, she actually has two special skills. The first one is God's tongue. With an extraordinary sense of taste, you can taste the shortcomings of food and restore the cooking process of the ingredients. Good guy, I didn't expect that God's tongue is also a skill. Except God's tongue, there is a second skill. Super cooking skills. It can cook most ordinary ingredients smoothly, and has a chance to cook extraordinary ingredients. After Luo Wei hesitated for a while between the two special skills of God's tongue and super culinary skills, he decisively chose super culinary skills. The moment he chose this skill, Luo Wei had a lot of cooking knowledge in his mind. At this moment, he became a chef who was not inferior to Minagi Nakiri. Nakiri Shinagi was quite surprised by Luo Wei's choice. I thought, Mr. Luo Wei, you would choose God's tongue. Luo Wei said, I did think about choosing God's tongue, but now I am considered a god, and in a sense I have God's tongue, so I was afraid of wasting it, so I chose super cooking skills. Nakiri Shinagi said and chose the ability of Dimensional Gate. However, like darkness, Nakiri Shinagi still obtained a defective version of the Dimensional Gate. It seems that only Luo Wei can master the complete version of the Dimensional Gate. Then, Luo Wei followed Hephaestus back to the Earth world and came to the Hephaestus Familia. Lord God. Several members of the Hephaestus family saw Hephaestus and quickly stepped forward to salute. Where's Tsubaki? Hephaestus asked. As for the leader, he should be in the forging room now. A burly family member said. Hephaestus snorted and said, go find her and ask her to come to my office immediately to find me. Several family members did not dare to neglect and left one after another. Luo Wei followed Hephaestus through a long corridor and arrived at Hephaestus' office. Not long after the two sat down, Chun opened the door and walked in from the outside. Lord God, are you looking for me? Hephaestus hummed, pointed at Luo Wei and said, Chun, there is something I need your help with. Chun said without hesitation, please give me your instructions, Lord God. Hephaestus said, I hope you can make a contract with Luo Wei and obtain an ability from Luo Wei. Contract. Yes, Luo Wei is a god like me. He can make contracts with people and share his abilities with others. One of the abilities is particularly important to the Hephaestus Familia. Hearing what Hephaestus said, Chun nodded seriously, okay, Lord God, I understand. Then, she turned to look at Luo Wei, we meet again, Lord Luo Wei. At first, she was very curious about Luo Wei, who often visited the Hephaestus family, but she never thought that Luo Wei was also a god. This is really unexpected. We did meet again, Miss Chun. Luo Wei materialized into a glass of water, dripped his own blood into it, and handed it to Chun. Tsubaki took the water glass and glanced at Hephaestus. Hephaestus said, this is a necessary ceremony to conclude the contract. Only then did Chun drink the bloody water in the water cup, and formed a contract with Luo Wei, becoming Luo Wei's dependent family. Of course, it's just in name only. There is no doubt that Chun is still the leader of the Hephaestus Familia. After signing the contract, Chun realized that he seemed to have changed his family. From a member of Hephaestus's family, he became a member of Luo Wei's family. She looked at Hephaestus in surprise. Don't worry, it's just a name. You are still the leader of the Hephaestus Familia. There is no doubt about it. Hephaestus comforted him. Chun didn't quite understand why Lord Hephaestus did this at first. But when she saw Luo Wei's Dimensional Gate skills, she finally understood Hephaestus' painstaking efforts. This outrageous skill actually exists. Having this skill is equivalent to owning vast worlds one after another. No wonder Lord Hephaestus would name himself a member of the Luo Wei Familia. Not surprisingly, Chun chose the Dimension Gate skill. And Luo Wei also chose a skill from Chun. Forging. You can forge pretty good supernatural weapons. Chun also has other skills, but only this skill can make Luo Wei take a high look. Moreover, the skill of forging goes well with the materialization of fantasy. Luo Wei is about to use fantasy materialization to directly skip the forging process and forge an extraordinary weapon. This is also something that makes Chun extremely envious. If the skill of Dimensional Gate was not too important, she might also choose Luo Wei's fantasy materialization skill. Because this skill is so compatible with blacksmithing. You go find Hestia first, Chun, they are in another world. Hephaestus said, that is a good world. Maybe you can go further in this world. I understand, Lord God, I'll go right away. Chun nodded, activated the ability of the Dimensional Gate, opened the door of the office, and headed to the beautiful world. Only Luo Wei and Hephaestus were left in the office. Hephaestus asked with a smile, what kind of artifact do you want? Luo Wei said, this is not good. What's wrong with this? Hephaestus said, I just have itchy hands recently and I plan to make an artifact for fun. Of course, Luo Wei knew that Hephaestus was joking with him. She just wanted to repay him for her itchy hands. The other party had already said that, so I didn't continue to decline. He said, then I need an artifact with defensive properties. Hephaestus looked at Luo Wei angrily and complained, you are really afraid of death. Luo Wei said plausibly, isn't this a matter of course, and I am carrying more than one life now. You don't want to have any problems with your captain, Lord Hephaestus. I know, I know. Hephaestus always felt that Luo Wei's words were obedient, but she still accepted Luo Wei's proposal and built a defensive artifact for Luo Wei. Not to mention anything else, but at least the security must be high. At the same time, various environments must be taken into consideration. However, if you want to create an artifact, you must unlock your divine power. In the labyrinth city of Orario, Hephaestus is unable to do this. Because once she breaks the seal here and uses her divine power, she will be sent back to heaven. This is the agreement of the gods. Of course, Hephaestus couldn't violate it. But it seems inconvenient to forge artifacts in a beautiful world, because it is a world with gods. If the artifacts forged are very good, it will easily alarm the gods in heaven. If the gods of that world discovered her as an outsider, it would easily cause unnecessary trouble. As for the world of the shouting halberd spirit, it is too ordinary. So after thinking for a moment, Hephaestus said to Luo Wei, "You are opening a new world." Luo Wei couldn't help but be stunned. What's going on? As soon as Hephaestus expressed her thoughts, Luo Wei suddenly felt that it made sense and agreed. Okay, how about we go together? No problem. It just so happened that Hephaestus also wanted to see what the new world looked like, and whether there was any knowledge or materials that would interest her. Without saying anything, Luo Wei raised a finger and tapped it in the air. A new dimensional door is opened. Behind the door is a whole new world. After he and Hephaestus looked at each other, they stepped into the new world. The first time he entered the new world, Hephaestus broke the seal and regained her divine power. God knows what the new world is like. If you encounter any danger and are injured before the seal is even lifted, it would be too unfair. Behind the door is a modern bathroom. There was also a blonde woman taking a shower in the bathroom. When Luo Wei saw this blonde woman, he couldn't help but cover his face. He almost forgot that there seemed to be something wrong with his golden finger, and he would often give himself some benefits without knowing it. But then again, I seem to be destined to girls with blonde hair. Darkness has blonde hair, Nakiri Arena has blonde hair, and the girl in front of her also has blonde hair. Seeing this scene, Hephaestus also had a headache. Why are you so clever every time you appear on the stage? Are you doing it on purpose, accidentally, or on purpose? Luo Wei couldn't help but complain. No matter how many times you ask me, I can answer you, I didn't do it on purpose, nor was I careless, nor did I do it on purpose. The blonde girl in the bathroom had actually noticed the arrival of Luo Wei and Hephaestus when they appeared. However, she did not scream immediately, but decisively pulled the shower curtain to block her graceful body, then stuck her head out and looked at Luo Wei and Hephaestus. "Who are you two?" Hephaestus said. "I am Hephaestus and he is Luo Wei, but we are not bad people. You can rest assured that he will not do anything to you as long as I am here." After saying these words, Hephaestus opened the bathroom door and dragged Luo Wei out. "You should come out quickly." After saying that, he closed the bathroom door. Outside the bathroom is an office-like place with a table in the middle of the room with a large amount of paper piled on it. In addition, modern equipment such as refrigerators, coffee machines, air conditioners, and TVs are all available. Obviously, this is a modern world again. Luo Wei looked through the window and saw a huge playground outside, as well as European-style buildings. Seeing this scene, Luo Wei vaguely understood that this should be a place similar to a school. And judging from the blonde woman's skin color, appearance, and the school's architectural style, this shouldn't be a school in Europe, right? Although Luo Wei made a judgment, he was not completely sure. But while he was thinking, the blonde girl who had just taken a shower in the bathroom came out, wearing a very familiar student uniform. Luo Wei always felt that he had seen this uniform somewhere. So he asked, "What's your name?" The blonde girl was stunned for a moment, and hurriedly said, "Emile, my name is Emile Ashford." Oh my god, Luo Wei slapped his forehead, and he finally realized why the uniform on the other party was so familiar. It turned out to be the uniform of Ashford College. At the same time, Luo Wei also knew what world he had come to this time. The rebellious Lelouch. But then again, this animation is too old. It was probably an animation that he watched more than 10 years ago. Luo Wei has almost forgotten some of the details in it, and only remembers the general plot. No wonder he didn't recognize Emile at first sight. What are you? Emile saw Luo Wei suddenly slap his head and asked curiously. Hephaestus said calmly, "Don't worry about him, he's just going crazy." Mireille laughed dryly a few times and asked, "Excuse me, who are you and why did you suddenly appear in my bathroom?" When talking about the bathroom, Mireille's face flushed. It's okay for Hephaestus, after all, she is a woman. But Luo Wei is a man, and being seen all over by a big man, even Mireille, who has always been carefree and cheerful, can't bear it. Hephaestus turned her head and looked at Luo Wei, asking Luo Wei with her eyes how to answer this question. Luo Wei did not hide it, and said calmly, "As you can see, we are not ordinary people, we are gods from another world." Another world, gods? Mireille was shocked and looked at Luo Wei and Hephaestus in disbelief. "Why, don't you believe it? Even if you say so. Mireille certainly won't believe this easily. Does the other world really exist?" Luo Wei said, "If you don't believe it, why don't you go to another world with us?" After saying that, before Mireille could react, Luo Wei took Mireille and Hephaestus to Axel again. As the saying goes, seeing is believing. No matter how much Luo Wei said, it was better to see the truth with his own eyes. Half an hour later, everyone returned to the rebellious Lelouch world again and returned to the office of Ashford College. Mireille was so excited that she couldn't say anything more. "So the other world really exists, but then again, how did you come to our world? Can the gods of the other world do this?" Luo Wei said, "Aren't we standing in front of you?" Mireille asked curiously, "Then what do you want to do in our world?" Luo Wei said, "On the one hand, I want to travel and see new scenery, and on the other hand, I want to collect some knowledge of this world, or some special materials." As he said that, he glanced at Hephaestus and said, "I remember that there seems to be a kind of knowledge in this world that is very suitable for you, Hephaestus." "What?" Hephaestus asked curiously. "Gundam, but it's not called Gundam in this world, it's called Nightmare, which translates to Humanoid Free Combat Armored Rider." After hearing this, Emile became more and more curious, and couldn't help but get closer to Luo Wei. "Master God, didn't you just arrive in our world? Why do you know about the Humanoid Free Combat Armored Cavalry?" Luo Wei said, "Of course I have my own channels, don't underestimate the gods." Emile was thoughtful. Hephaestus couldn't help but ask, "What exactly is this Humanoid Free Combat Armored Rider?" Emile raised her hand and said, "I know this, let me take a look at it for you." She dug through the student union's laptop, found an introduction to Nightmare, and placed it in front of Hephaestus. Nightmare is undoubtedly a powerful weapon on the battlefield, more powerful than firearms. Moreover, its flexibility and maneuverability exceed that of tanks. This is completely a new era of weapons of mass destruction. But after Mireille played the information about Nightmare, Hephaestus was immediately shocked. Although she didn't know how she knew this thing, she was shocked. "Luo Wei, this thing is really great. If the Hephaestus Familia can build this thing, it will definitely become popular in the entire labyrinth city of Orario and completely rewrite the entire pattern of Orario. It's great." Luo Wei looked at Nightmare in the video, with a hint of heartbeat in his eyes. Although with his current strength, it wouldn't be a problem to dismantle the Nightmare with his bare hands. But the problem is, which boy doesn't have the dream to pilot a Gundam himself? Although this thing is not called Gundam, but Nightmare, in Luo Wei's view, it is actually no different from Gundam. Hephaestus couldn't help but asked, "Luo Wei, where can I buy this thing?" Luo Wei said, "There are 3 countries in this world, the Holy Britannia Empire, the EU, and the Chinese Federation. All 3 countries have the ability to manufacture this thing. In addition, it seems that this kind of weapon can also be purchased on the black market. However, the weapons on the black market are basically low-end products, and they are also the most common versions. If you want to get the customized version of Gundam, you must contact the top leaders of these 3 countries. The 2 of us have no basis or connections in this world, and it is difficult to get in touch with the top leaders of these 3 countries. But fortunately, our Mireille Ashford is officially one of the nobles of the Holy Britannia Empire. The Ashford family was once a great noble of the Britannian Empire, and behind them stood the most beloved concubine of the Emperor of the Britannian Empire, Princess Mariana. However, with the fall of Princess Mariana, the Ashford family was purged and declined rapidly. But even so, the dead camel is still bigger than the horse. I believe Miss Murray must have the ability to get in touch with the top brass of the Britannia Empire, right, Miss Murray? Hearing this, Emily couldn't help but smile bitterly. Why do you even know these things? However, Luo Wei did not answer this question, but said, of course, instead of letting Miss Emily contact those stupid nobles, I personally prefer Miss Emily to introduce us to a person named Lloyd Asplin. A man of virtue. Chapter 51. Lloyd Asplin. Hephaestus asked curiously, I feel like you seem to like this Lloyd Asplin very much. Who is he? It's my fiancé. Murray smiled bitterly and said, he is also a count of the Britannia Empire. Luo Wei said, it's true that he is an earl, but this guy is a real genius. He is also the director of the specially dispatched technical department of the Britannian Empire, a technician who specializes in developing the 7th generation nightmare. I can assure you that the 7th generation nightmare Lancelot developed by this guy is definitely the most advanced machine currently. Their excellent brain is a valuable asset. The only person who can compare with pointing at the moment is probably Lakshata. But Lakshata is currently far away in the Chinese Federation, so the only person we can contact is Count Lloyd. Of course Hephaestus knew that Luo Wei had secrets, otherwise it would be impossible for him to know so much about things in this world. However, she did not intend to get to the bottom of it. Instead, she asked, even if we meet this Count Lloyd, how do you plan to convince him? Luo Wei said with a smile, have you forgotten my contract? I believe that this Earl will not refuse to become my dependent. Of course, if you also like this Earl of Lloyd, I can give it to you. Hephaestus couldn't help but said, if this Count Lloyd is really as good as you say, you will really give it to me. Of course, Luo Wei said, didn't I just say that although Earl Lloyd is excellent, there is still Lakshata who can rival him? More importantly, Lakshata is a black-skinned beauty. For me, it's okay to contract a man, but if I can choose, I would rather all the people who join my family are beauties. Hephaestus smiled bitterly and said, you really don't hide your desires. Luo Wei said calmly, desire is also a part of me. There is nothing to hide. It's up to you, as long as your brain is not dominated by desire. Hephaestus said, don't worry, this possibility won't happen. Luo Wei said decisively. After saying this, Luo Wei turned to look at Emily. Miss Emily, if I remember correctly, you should be asking for blind dates, and you are jealous and yearn for free love, right? Emily complained. Why do you even know these things? Luo Wei said, how about, if you are willing to introduce Earl Lloyd to us, I will give you enough power to let the Ashford family rise again, and then you will not have to be forced by your mother to go on blind dates. Quote. Emily's eyes lit up, and she suddenly felt that Luo Wei seemed to be more pleasing to the eye. That's what you said. Of course. Luo Wei nodded. I wonder what you think. It's a deal. Emily had already guessed from the conversation just now that they would not harm Count Lloyd, but would instead bring him huge benefits. In this case, she could introduce Earl Lloyd to the two of them in exchange for the rise of the Ashford family, thereby getting rid of blind dates and falling in love freely. Emily would naturally not refuse such a win-win situation. So she immediately took out her phone and called her mother. Hey, Mom, can you give me Earl Lloyd's phone number? Well, yes, that's my fiancé. On the other end of the phone, Emily's mother looked surprised. How had her daughter been stimulated to ask for Earl Lloyd's phone number? She remembered that her daughter seemed to hate things like blind dates, and she was forced to go on every blind date. This time he was so proactive. There must be something fishy in it. But Emily's mother thought about it again. No matter what the other party's plans were, it was a good thing to take the initiative to see the other party. So she told Emily Earl Lloyd's phone number and gave a special warning before hanging up. Emily, if you dare to play any tricks and mess up this matter, I will go to Ashford College immediately, bring you back from District 11, and marry you off within a month. Do you understand, Emily? Faced with her mother's warning, Emily patted her chest and assured, don't worry, Mom, there will be no problem with this matter. I will definitely not do any tricks. After hanging up the phone, Emily called Earl Lloyd again. A few seconds later, the call was connected, and a somewhat frivolous voice came. Hey, this is Lloyd, who are you and why do you have my personal phone number? Hello, Earl Lloyd, my name is Murray Ashford. Murray said her name seriously. Earl Lloyd suddenly realized, she turns out to be my fiancé. This is the first time you called me. It's really strange. Now you have figured it out. Do you want to date me? Emily shook her head subconsciously, but she stopped when she realized that Count Lloyd couldn't see her movements. Actually, I have something very important to tell you. Can we meet in person? Sure, Earl Lloyd agreed without thinking. In fact, the reason why he agreed to marry the Ashford family was not because of the power of the Ashford family. After all, this family has declined and is on the edge of the Holy Britannian Empire. Of course, he didn't fall in love with Murray Ashford. In his eyes, beautiful women are not as good as nightmare. The reason why he married Emily was that he was very interested in the Ganymede developed by the Ashford family and wanted to obtain this machine for research. But because the relationship between the two is just an unmarried couple, they have not yet obtained this machine. So Earl Lloyd wanted to get this machine as soon as possible. Emily asked, "Where are you now?" Earl Lloyd said, "We are currently at the governor's mansion in District 11. If you want to come, you can give me a call at the gate of the governor's mansion." Emily looked at Luo Wei and Hephaestus. Luo Wei pointed to the ground. Emily understood and said, "If possible, can we meet at Ashford College?" However, at this moment, Earl Lloyd suddenly said, "There must be someone else around you. You paused subconsciously just now. Are you asking this person for his opinion? Meeting at Ashford College was also this person's idea, right?" Earl Lloyd's sudden reasoning made Murray subconsciously exclaim. She didn't expect Earl Lloyd to be so smart and guess what was going on here. Luo Wei couldn't help but clicked his tongue. No wonder some people don't like to deal with smart people. This idea of being seen through is really annoying. Give me the phone. Luo Wei stretched out his hand. Emily sighed and handed the phone to Luo Wei. Luo Wei took the phone and said, "Hello, Earl Lloyd, my name is Luo Wei. I wonder if I can meet you." Although I was just guessing, I didn't expect that there was actually someone on the phone. Earl Lloyd did not respond to Luo Wei's invitation, but instead sighed like this. Luo Wei couldn't help but clicked his tongue again. "Has anyone told you that the way you talk is actually annoying?" Earl Lloyd couldn't help laughing. "Of course there is, and there are more than one. I wonder if the people from the Chinese Federation have anything to do with me." Correction, I have nothing to do with the Chinese Federation in this world. You seem to have used a very interesting explanation. It has nothing to do with the Chinese Federation in this world. Smart people are smart people, and they immediately grasped the key points of Luo Wei's words. Is it any wonder that you are not from this world? If I say yes, will Earl Lloyd believe it? Luo Wei asked with a half smile. There was silence on the other side of the phone. After a long time, Earl Lloyd said slowly, "Of course not, because I don't know at all whether you are trying to be mysterious. Maybe you are just using such words to deceive me. How is it possible? Even if you don't believe me, you should believe Miss Emily. Do you think she is the kind of person who is easy to fool?" Luo Wei moved out of Emily. But Earl Lloyd said, "Although Miss Ashford and I are considered an unmarried couple, with all due respect, I don't know much about her character, and I don't know whether she is your accomplice." That's true. Let's take a step back. The meeting place will be chosen by Earl Lloyd. I don't know what your wishes are, Earl Lloyd. Luo Wei gave full sincerity. But Earl Lloyd couldn't help but said, "Why do I have to meet you? Don't you want to witness with your own eyes the existence of parallel worlds and even different worlds?" Luo Wei smiled, but the words he spoke were full of temptation. After all, you smart people who like to do research shouldn't be able to resist this kind of thing. There was silence on the other side of the phone once again. After about a few minutes, Count Lloyd sighed again. "You're right. I really don't have much resistance to the existence of parallel worlds and other worlds. No, it should be said that no scientist has resistance. So, I decided to meet you, but the location is my choice, no problem." "No problem." Luo Wei agreed readily, not worried at all about being surrounded. With his current strength, even if he was really surrounded by a group of soldiers, he could leave calmly. Not to mention that there is a real god beside Luo Wei. Hephaestus. Judging from the current situation in the world of rebellious Lelouch, nothing in this world can harm the goddess Hephaestus. And the goddess of love, the astonishingly powerful nuclear weapon, has not yet been invented by the desk girl Nina. Therefore, Luo Wei was very reassured about the location designated by Earl Lloyd. After thinking for a moment, Earl Lloyd said, "How about we meet on the tram around the city, what do you think?" "Okay, what's the time?" "In an hour." "No problem at all." Luo Wei readily agreed to all of Earl Lloyd's requests, then hung up the phone and looked at Mi Lei. "I'll trouble you, Miss Mi Lei, please take us to the city circling tram." Mi Lei nodded. "No problem, hug me." Then, Luo Wei and Hephaestus left Ashford College under the leadership of Mi Lei. The two of them walked and talked. Luo Wei also learned some things from Mi Lei's mouth. For example, the current governor of District 11 is still the third prince of the Britannia Empire, Clovis La Britannia. This means that the plot of the rebellious Lelouch has not begun. But Luo Wei was not surprised because he discovered something. Whenever I enter a new world, the time seems to be fixed before the plot begins. This is the case in the Dikuo world, this is the case in the beautiful world, and it is also the case in the world of Shiji Ji Ling. But the plot of Halberd Shove Spirit has already begun. After all, Luo Wei has already gone through the transfer student exam. The plot of Beautiful World has not yet begun, because Luo Wei has not yet seen Sato Kazuma. As for whether the plot of Dikuo World has begun, Luo Wei is not sure. Because in the original plot, Hestia was kicked out of the family by the unbearable Hephaestus because she was too lazy all day long and did not seek to make progress, and ended up living on the streets. Finally met the male protagonist Belle. But because of Luo Wei's time travel, Hestia was not kicked out of Hephaestus's family, and the Hestia family has been established. The plot has undergone subtle changes. So Luo Wei really doesn't know if the plot of D Wrong has started. After all, Luo Wei spent most of his time in the beautiful world and paid too little attention to the wrong world. It was not clear at all whether the male protagonist Belle had reached the labyrinth city Orario. But what he was sure of was that Lelouch's plot had not yet begun. But Lelouch did often skip school to play chess with the nobles. God knows when Lelouch's plot will begin. Maybe it's today, maybe it's tomorrow, of course it could be a month later. It didn't take long for Luo Wei and his group to arrive at the city circling tram. Along the way, Hephaestus often lamented the prosperity of this world. In her eyes, the labyrinth city Orario was already considered a rare prosperous city. But compared with the city in front of me, it was a little worse. There are tall buildings rising from the ground, self-propelled sports cars, unmanned vending machines, bustling shopping malls, pedestrians coming and going on the streets, and streets with endless traffic. Everything declares the vitality of this city. Labyrinth city Orario compared to this unchecked sum. Hephaestus couldn't help but sigh. Humans are really a race good at creating miracles. Luo Wei's view on this is simple. Who says it isn't? After the driverless light rail tram started slowly, Hephaestus said, "This tool is really convenient. At least the labyrinth city Orario does not have such convenient means of transportation." Luo Wei said, "You can also try to build such a vehicle in the labyrinth city Orario. Although a lot of money will be invested initially, the money will gradually be recovered as time goes by. More importantly, this thing can become a landmark of the labyrinth city Orario, and it can also bring the reputation of the Hephaestus Familia to a higher level. Perhaps in 10 years, the Hephaestus Familia will be able to rely on these things to make money." Hephaestus's eyes lit up when he heard this. "You are right, I should think about it. She is not some short-sighted human being, but an amazingly long-lived deity." But while others were thinking about what would happen in 3 days or 3 months, her eyes had already seen 30 years or even hundreds of years in the future. Maybe, he really should build a light rail in the labyrinth city Orario. With the abilities of the Hephaestus Familia, it shouldn't be a problem. The light rail tram around the city proceeds in an orderly manner according to the prescribed route. Luo Wei can clearly see that this tram divides the entire city into two. On one side is the dilapidated old city, where all people from District 11 live. On the other side is a new urban area with many high-rise buildings. Most of them are from Britannia, and a small number are from District 11. It's obvious to others. However, although the neon in this world surrendered to the Britannian Empire, it was a complete loss. Even the name Neon was not allowed to be used and became District 11. In this regard, Luo Wei can only applaud. After the light rail tram arrived at the next stop, passengers on the carriage got off one after another. In the end, only Luo Wei, Hephaestus, and Emile were left in the entire carriage. Just when the carriage door was about to close, a young lady in military uniform, no, it must have been an older sister, walked in. This is a big sister with short blue shoulder-length hair and a pair of moving eyes. Luo Wei looked at the other person carefully and recognized his identity. Cecil Kermy, a subordinate of Count Lloyd and a member of Lancelot's development team. In addition to serving as a liaison officer, he is also responsible for taking care of the driver. His rank is lieutenant. Although he is under Lloyd, he has the ability to teach Lloyd a lesson. Generally speaking, they can be regarded as Earl Lloyd's subordinates. Ah, are you alone? Where is Lord Lloyd? Seeing Cecil walking in front of him, Luo Wei asked curiously. Cecil said, although I am rude to you, as a subordinate, I must consider the safety of Earl Lloyd, so before you can prove your identity, Earl Lloyd will not appear in front of you. Quote. Luo Wei suddenly understood. I probably understand. You also heard the conversation between me and Earl Lloyd, so you detained Earl Lloyd very forcefully and came to see me alone, right? Cecil looked at Luo Wei in surprise, not expecting that his actions would be seen through. Yes, Count Lloyd did lose his mind because of the temptation of another world and parallel world, and wanted to see him. However, she took advantage of the other party's carelessness and tied up Earl Lloyd directly. Because she was not sure whether Luo Wei's side was a trap or not. Hephaestus couldn't help but said, that guy named Lloyd is really lucky to have a good subordinate like you. I don't feel honored at all. At this moment, the voice of Count Lloyd suddenly came from Cecil's chest. Luo Wei thought it was the same, it was a miniature intercom. Cecil, you dare to tie up your boss, you are committing a crime of insubordination. Lloyd seemed to be full of resentment about being knocked down by Cecil. Cecil said, Count, this is for your safety. Then, she said to Luo Wei, please prove your identity, everyone. Luo Wei said, do you want me to take you to a different world? Hey, is it okay? Cecil was a little nervous, the man in front of him was so easy to talk to. Luo Wei said, seeing is believing, no matter how much you say, it's better to see it with your own eyes, isn't it? Wait, I should be the first person to step into the different world. In the intercom, Count Lloyd's voice was a little crazy, he should be the first person in this world to step into the different world. Cecil, I order you as your boss, stand still and wait for me. Cecil was moved and decided to ignore Count Lloyd's order, saying, I am also thinking about your safety. While following Luo Wei to the other world. As for Mireille and Hephaestus, they stayed where they were and waited silently. This time, Luo Wei brought Cecil to the world of Dikuo. The elves, dwarves, orcs, and adventurers in armor on the streets, and the medieval-style buildings all indicate that this is a different world. So, this is really a different world. It's the real deal. Cecil took a step and paced back and forth on the street, making sure that she was not under some illusion, but came to a real different world. But at this moment, she suddenly discovered something. I seem to understand what people here are saying. She was sure that the people here were definitely not speaking English or Neon, but she could indeed understand what they were saying. For example, there was a small stall selling accessories a few steps away from her on the left-hand side. The boss is communicating with the customer. The two people spoke a completely unfamiliar language, but Cecil could understand what they were saying. Boss, how much is this hairpin? You have a good eye, it is inlaid with a natural sapphire, and it only costs 5,000 Ferris. By the way, Ferris is the currency unit of the world of the earth. Just like Eris in the beautiful world. Luo Wei said calmly, this is one of my special abilities. Anyone who follows me into the other world can communicate with each other without obstacles. No matter whether you speak Japanese or English, it will automatically translate into a language that the other party can understand when it enters the other party's ears. This is also the reason why Irina Nakiri can communicate with Hephaestus, Darkness and others. But no one cared and subconsciously ignored this point. And Cecil was probably the first person to ask this question. After the two of them walked around the street, they returned to the world of Lelouch of the rebellion and returned to the light rail car. Sehil had just followed Luo Wei back to the light rail tram when he saw a man in a white coat with a ferocious face, like a hungry ghost, rushing towards him. Sehil was suddenly startled and subconsciously used military fighting skills. Although she looked weak, she was also a soldier trained in the Britannia Empire. She threw the devil-like man heavily to the ground with a shoulder throw. With a muffled sound, everything was silent. The whole car was quiet. At this time, Sehil also found that the man who was thrown over his shoulder was not someone else, but his immediate boss. Earl Lloyd. Sehil let out a sharp scream and hurriedly helped Lloyd up from the ground. Lloyd said that he had never been as embarrassed as today. After he got up from the ground, he hummed twice. Not only did you sneak attack your boss and tie him up, but you also threw him to the ground. Cecil, what should I do with you? Cecil smiled bitterly, then took a deep breath and said with a fearless attitude, this. I am willing to accept any punishment. Punishment. Lloyd hummed and pushed his eyes on the bridge of his nose. You stole my reputation as the first person to go to another world without permission. How should I punish you, Cecil? Cecil smiled bitterly even more. However, Lloyd did not dwell on this topic, but asked, so, does the other world really exist? Cecil nodded. If what I just encountered was not an illusion, the other world really exists. Lloyd asked curiously, what does the other world look like? Cecil said, I didn't stay in that world for a long time, but from the surface, it should be a world of swords and magic, with beautiful elves, dwarves, and adventurers, more similar to the Middle Ages. But the streets are very clean and beautiful, not as dirty as the Middle Ages. Lloyd couldn't help but sigh. The other world of swords and magic. Speaking of this, his resentment deepened. Originally, he should have been the first person to go to the other world. Luo Wei said with a smile, if you want to know more about the other world, you might as well ask Hephaestus, after all, he is quite familiar with Orario. Hephaestus. Lloyd turned his head and looked at Hephaestus. This name is not ordinary. It was originally not ordinary. Luo Wei said. Hephaestus was originally the Hephaestus you imagined, but it was a different world version. Cecil couldn't help but be surprised. The red-haired woman in front of him turned out to be a god, and a goddess. So that's it, so it makes sense. No wonder this red-haired lady is so beautiful, and no wonder you can move freely between the two worlds. Lloyd suddenly realized, gods are really more powerful than imagined. Cecil couldn't help asking, if this Miss Hephaestus is really a god, why is she looking for the Count? Lloyd said, it's for my research. Speaking of this, Lloyd's eyes flashed with a confident light. He believed that his research would not lose to anyone, and it was not impossible to attract the attention of the gods. Hephaestus nodded and did not deny this. Yes, I am indeed here for your research, but what I value more is you. What do you think? Do you want to join my family? Family, what is that? Lloyd asked. He still had many things he wanted to know. Luo Wei said, how about we go to the Labyrinth City and talk while introducing it? Hephaestus had no problem with that. Lloyd wanted to see a different world, and he had no problem with it. So everyone hit it off immediately, and Luo Wei took them to the Labyrinth City Orario. A group of people walked on the wide street, and Hephaestus also explained to Lloyd and others the structure of the Labyrinth City Orario and the background of this world, including things like the gods descending to the realm, establishing dependent clans, and bestowing favors from the gods. Lloyd listened with great interest. So that's it. Lloyd couldn't be more excited. Do the idle and boring gods finally go down to the next world to live with humans and create miracles? This is really an interesting world. Even Murray and Cecil had to admit this. This world is really interesting. Not to mention, this is a world of swords and magic. After Lloyd understood the basic structure of the Dikuo world, his eyes wandered around Luo Wei and Hephaestus. Now I have a question, if Hephaestus is a god, then you woolen cloth. He looked at Luo Wei. I am also a spirit. Luo Wei nodded. Then you also have your own family. Of course. The ability to travel through the world is your ability or the ability of the goddess Hephaestus. It's my ability, but the leader of the Hephaestus familia also has similar abilities. This puzzled Lloyd. Is this ability widespread? Hephaestus said. That's not true. In fact, this ability is Luo Wei's unique ability. However, after becoming Luo Wei's family, you can share this ability with your own family. The leader of my family became Luo Wei's dependent in name, thus gaining this ability. I understand. Lloyd's eyes flashed and he saluted Luo Wei. If possible, can you allow me to join your family, Lord God? Hephaestus sighed. She knew that Luo Wei was more attractive than herself. Luo Wei said, to be honest, I don't hate you, Count Lloyd. If you were the only genius in your world, I would accept you without hesitation and make you my dependent. It's a pity that in your world, there is a genius who is as good as you and also has in-depth research on nightmare. Compared to you, I prefer each other. I prefer an eccentric woman to an eccentric man. After all, if you can contract with a beautiful girl, who would contract with a grown man? Earl Lloyd immediately understood who Luo Wei was talking about, and couldn't help but smile bitterly. I see. I didn't expect that I would lose to Lakshata because of my identity as a man. This really doesn't make people happy at all. After Luo Wei expressed his clear rejection, Lloyd finally joined the Hephaestus familia after some consideration. Hephaestus also didn't mind that the other party had rejected him. After all, there is no doubt that Lloyd is a talent in his opinion. Since he is a talent, he naturally deserves some special treatment. Hephaestus, who has lived for hundreds of millions of years, knows this all too well. After Lloyd joined the Hephaestus familia, she took Lloyd back to the Hephaestus familia and granted the other party the favor of the god. God Hephaestus, if conditions permit, can you allow me, this subordinate, to join your family? After all, my subordinate is of great help to me. After Lloyd joined Hephaestus's family, he began to seek benefits for his subordinates here. When Cecil heard this, he couldn't help but look at himself and Count Lloyd gratefully, and began to reflect on whether his behavior just now was inappropriate. Of course Hephaestus would not refuse, of course. Then he also gave Cecil the favor of God and allowed him to join his family. In the end, of the three people who came to the different world together, Emile was the only one who did not join the family. So Emile decided to take the initiative. No matter how you look at me, I am a beautiful girl. Are you interested in having a beautiful girl become your dependent? Luo Wei, the supreme god. Luo Wei was able to contact Count Lloyd all thanks to Emile, and now he will naturally not burn bridges. So he readily agreed to Emile's request and accepted Emile as his family member. However, Emile's attributes are too weak, and she doesn't have a single skill that she can use. Fortunately, Luo Wei didn't mind and showed his skill list in front of Emile. Emile said in surprise, so, the ability to travel through the world is this dimensional gate. Earl Lloyd and Cecil also came over and said in amazement, it is indeed a quite miraculous ability. Luo Wei reminded, I know you covet this dimensional gate, but I suggest you choose the ability to manifest fantasy. With this ability, you can easily revive the Ashford family. When the time comes, you won't have to be forced by your mother to go on blind dates here. Emile's eyes suddenly lit up when she heard this. Hey, is it really okay to say this in front of my fiancé? Earl Lloyd said with a half smile. Luo Wei said calmly, do you care about Emile? What you care about is their family's special body. Lloyd, whose true purpose was revealed, did not panic at all. Instead, he laughed, yes, I am indeed interested in the Ashford family's special organism, so I agreed to this engagement. Now if Miss Mireille needs it, I can terminate this engagement at any time. Emile thought for a while and said tactfully, no need for the time being, I don't want to be forced by my mother to go on a blind date again. Lloyd quickly understood Emile's thoughts, then should I be used as a shield? Well, for the sake of introducing God Hephaestus to me, I promised you. When will you wait? Think about it, you can break off the engagement with me at any time. Mireille immediately breathed a sigh of relief and bowed to Lloyd. Thank you, Count, you're welcome, I'm not interested in women anyway. Then, Emile followed Luo Wei's words and chose the ability to share fantasy materialization. After gaining this ability, Emile had a lot of fun, manifesting a set of clothes and a hat, and playing dress up. Even Cecil couldn't help but join in. As for Lloyd, he didn't have any interest in this. Instead, he showed full interest in the labyrinth city Orario. I wish I could live here and study. But unfortunately, this is impossible. After all, Lloyd has a weird personality, but he is also the director of the Technology Development Department, and he is also an earl. If you don't go back tonight, it will easily attract the attention of relevant people, and Emile's Ashford family may be affected to a certain extent. So before that night came, Luo Wei sent everyone back to the rebellious Lelouch world again. This made Lloyd very reluctant, but in the end he said nothing. Eventually, the two groups parted ways. Luo Wei returned to Ashford College with Emile, and Hephaestus followed Lloyd to the Technology Development Department, intending to learn about Nightmare. Before leaving, Luo Wei reminded, "If you contact Lakshata, don't forget to tell me." I understand. Lloyd sighed and said, "I really don't understand what's so good about that fox-like woman." "It's probably pretty." Lloyd, "Is it really okay for you, a god, to indulge in such things between men and women all day long?" Lloyd couldn't help but joke that he was still full of resentment for the fact that Luo Wei chose Lakshata instead of him because he was a male. Luo Wei said plausibly, "Zeus is also a god, and he is also the king of gods. He should not be obsessed with men and women. What's more important is that compared to the kind of gods who are not taboo about men and women, I only like beautiful girls. What's wrong with that?" Lloyd was immediately speechless. After all, who doesn't know about Zeus in Greek mythology? Compared with Zeus, Luo Wei's little hobby is really nothing. The group then parted ways. Luo Wei and Emile returned to Ashford College. By the way, the reason why Luo Wei returned to Ashford College was not because he had no place to go, so he settled in this college. It was because Emile made a request to him, hoping that he could save someone. This person is definitely the sister of Lelouch, the ultimate girl control. Nunnally Britannia. Considering that Emile is also a member of his family, Luo Wei will naturally not refuse to ask for help for the first time. So he followed Emile back to Ashford College. "Hey, Nunnally, I brought someone to see you." Because Murray and Nunnally were so familiar with each other, when they came to Lelouch's house, they didn't knock on the door at all, but walked straight in. It was dinner time at this time. When Luo Wei entered, he happened to see Nunnally sitting in a wheelchair and enjoying dinner. There was a black-haired man sitting next to her, looking at her with a doting look on his face. There is no doubt that this black-haired man is really the protagonist of the rebellious Lelouch world. Lelouch Britannia. Oh, right, Lelouch shouldn't be called Britannia now. But Lampeluki. God knows where this last name came from. Seeing Emile walking in swaggeringly, Lelouch said helplessly, "President, please at least knock on the door when you come in. You can easily scare people with your suddenness." However, Emile had no intention of introspecting at all. "What does it matter? We are all so familiar with each other. And I scared you, Nunnally." Nunnally shook her head and said, "No, I would rather say that the president can come to see me. I am very happy." Murray roared, rushed over and hugged Nunnally, rubbing her face wildly against Nunnally's. "It's beautiful girl Tai Tai, my favorite plot." A smile appeared on Luo Wei's face. "She's really cute, Nunnally. She's totally different from a shady guy," Murray said while posting. Lelouch said with a wry smile, "Are you referring to me as the sinister guy you are talking about?" "President," Emile said with a smile, "is there anyone else here?" So Lulu Pedicure turned his attention to Luo Wei. Emile laughed and said, "This is not a human being, but a real god." Lelouch couldn't help but become worried after hearing this. "President, have you joined some strange MLM organization?" "I knew you would say that." Murray rolled her eyes at Lelouch, and then said seriously, "You will be punished for disrespecting the gods, Lelouch." Lelouch saw the serious expression on the president's face, and his eyes became serious. Of course he would not believe the strange statement that Luo Wei was a god. But he wonders what Luo Wei did to Emile. "Okay, Emile, don't say any more. If you continue, Lelouch will call the police. Didn't you see that he looked at me strangely?" Emile couldn't help but sigh. Why is Lelouch always so vigilant? What I told is obviously the truth. "Lelouch, don't you even believe me now?" This time, even Nunnally couldn't help but worry, and asked cautiously, "President, are you really okay?" Even Nunnally. Emile was a little crazy. "Why don't you believe me?" Lelouch was not angry, but asked, "President, if one day I suddenly bring a stranger to you and tell you that this person is not a human being, but a god, would you believe it?" Is this some new type of prank? Emile couldn't help complaining. Lelouch looked like you knew it too. Look, you don't even believe it yourself, why would you ask others to believe it? Because everything I tell is the truth. Lelouch took out his cell phone without hesitation. President, if you keep talking like this, I'm really going to call the police. Emile sighed, turned to Luo Wei and said, it seems I can't convince them. You can do it yourself. Please, Lord Luo. Luo Wei nodded. Don't worry, leave it to me. He walked across from Lelouch, pulled out a chair and sat down. He looked down at the food on the table. Dinner seems a little plain, Lelouch. Lelouch asked, what exactly do you want to say? What did you do to the president? Luo Wei said with a smile, it seems that you are very worried about Emile. Lelouch said, of course I am worried about the president. You must know that the president has never believed in the existence of gods before. Of course, I do not believe in the existence of gods. If gods existed, the world would not be like this. Of course, the important thing is that when he first prayed to the gods never responded to him. Luo Wei couldn't help laughing. I can tell you clearly that even if gods exist, the world will not become a better place. When humans are desperate, they like to place their last hope on the gods, but then again, why should the gods help humans? You should have read Greek mythology, right? How many of the gods in Greek mythology will help humans, and what will be the consequences after helping humans? So in my opinion, it's better to ask God than to ask yourself. Of course, if you really encounter something that humans can't solve, asking God may not be a solution. But the premise is that there must be gods in this world. What's more important is that you can't beg an evil god. At the same time, you have to show corresponding value, otherwise why would the gods help you? Is it just because of your big face? If you don't have corresponding value, not even the humans who hold the encyclopedia will help you, let alone the superior gods. Quote. Lelouch was unmoved by Luo Wei's words and asked, after saying so much, what exactly do you want to say? Luo Wei said, you are valuable, Lelouch. You have an excellent brain and wisdom far beyond ordinary people. You can help me, so I am willing to help you, Lelouch. Emile couldn't help being surprised. Hey, didn't you say you don't want men to join your family? Luo Wei said, Nunnally is so cute, of course she is qualified to be my familiar. As for Lelouch, she can definitely be my subordinate. Of course, if Lelouch does a good job, I can't let him join my family. Lelouch narrowed his eyes and asked, Familia, what is that, a strange pyramid scheme organization? Luo Wei smiled, shook his head and snapped his fingers. Delicious dishes appeared on the table out of thin air. All of these are created by Luo Wei using his own fantasy materialization. Lelouch was immediately startled. Nunnally couldn't see this scene because she couldn't open her eyes, but she obviously heard Lelouch's exclamation and immediately said, Oni-chan, what happened here? No, it's nothing. Lelouch shook his head quickly and even touched the steaming dinners with his hands, as if to determine whether it was an illusion or not. For a long time, after confirming that he was indeed not hypnotized and did not see any hallucinations, Lelouch couldn't help but ask. How on earth did you do that? Before Luo Wei could speak, Emile said proudly, I know, this is the embodiment of fantasy. You can create items according to your own imagination. I can also do this, Lelouch. After saying that, Emile activated fantasy manifestation, created a western sword out of thin air, held it in her hand and waved it a few times. Ah, this. Lelouch opened his eyes in disbelief and looked at the western sword that appeared out of thin air in Mirei's hand. What is going on in this world? Lulu suddenly felt that the world had become strange. Whether it's the food on the table or the western sword in Emile's hand. Lelouch didn't even think it was an illusion. Because of this, he feels that the world has become strange. At this moment, Luo Wei took out a bottle of potion and placed it in front of Lelouch. What is this? Lelouch couldn't help but ask. Panacea. Luo Wei said calmly. This is a medicine that can cure any disease. No matter what the disease is, you can recover quickly as long as you take this medicine. Luo Wei glanced at Nunnally, and then said, I believe you need this medicine very much. Lelouch was silent. Of course he needed this medicine. He needs this medicine more than anyone else. What do you want from me? Lelouch didn't believe that Luo Wei would give this precious medicine to him for nothing. As I said just now, I want you to be my subordinate and work for me. In exchange, I can not only cure your sister, but also make her live like a normal person and even become stronger. Lelouch stared at the panacea on the table and said, I need to try it. Of course, Luo Wei made a pleased gesture. So Lelouch didn't hesitate to pick up the table knife on the table and slashed his palm hard. In an instant, blood splattered. Luo Wei was praised again. As expected of Lelouch, he was cruel to himself. Mi Lei looked at Lelouch worriedly. Lelouch picked up the panacea on the table and asked how to use it. It can be used internally or externally. So Lelouch sprinkled the elixir on his palm. After a few seconds, something magical happened. The wound on Lelouch's palm healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few blinks, the bone-deep wound just now disappeared. What replaced it was a pair of clean palms, not even a scratch could be seen. Lelouch couldn't help but marvel at how terrifying the panacea was. This thing can really cure diseases. Then his eyes became fiery. I promise you, as long as you can cure Nunnally. No matter what you ask me to do, I will do it. Nunnally showed a worried expression when she heard this, slowly stretched out her hand to fumble on the table, and finally took Lelouch's hand. Please don't force yourself for me, Oni-chan. As long as Oni-chan is safe and sound, I'll be satisfied. Lelouch held Nana Lily's hand with his backhand and said, Don't worry, Nunnally, I have no problem. If the other party is really a god, it might not be a bad thing to work under his hands. And I believe that the president will not harm me. Mi Lei said happily. This is still a human saying, Lelouch. Don't worry, God Luo Wei is not a bad person. Luo Wei smiled and took out a bottle of panacea again. This time Lelouch carefully picked up the elixir, opened the cap, and placed the mouth of the bottle to Nunnally's lips. Come on, Nunnally, open your mouth. Nunnally opened her mouth, and Lelouch poured all the elixir into Nunnally's mouth. Nunnally swallowed it thickly. In the original plot, the reason Nunnally was unable to open her eyes was because the current emperor of the Britannian Empire used Gios to give orders. In a sense, this is a psychological suggestion. As for Nana Lily's legs, it was indeed because of the injury that she couldn't stand. But with the help of the panacea, this small injury is actually nothing at all. The moment she drank the elixir, Nunnally could stand up. When Lelouch discovered that Nunnally could actually stand up from the wheelchair, he was extremely excited, but he was even more happy for Nunnally. However, when he found that Nunnally still couldn't open her eyes, he couldn't help but look at Luo Wei. Luo Wei said calmly, Nunnally can't open her eyes, not because she is sick or because her eyes are injured. It's because someone used her superpower to send a hint. Not to mention Lelouch, even Murray was shocked. What? Nunnally was actually given a hint. Who did it? It's really abominable. If possible, she really wanted to catch this person and give him a good beating so that he could experience the power of fantasy materialization. Luo Wei said, Of course he is the current emperor of the Britannia Empire, who is the father of Nunnally and Lelouch. What? Lelouch was shocked. He did not expect that Luo Wei would know his true identity. Could it be that Mi Lei exposed it? He couldn't help but glance at Mi Lei. Mi Lei quickly shook her head, indicating that she did not tell this matter. Lelouch chose to believe this, because he knew Murray's character and would not deny it if he did it. Moreover, the man sitting in front of him claimed to be a god and knew some unknown things. It didn't seem strange. What puzzled Lelouch was why his father, why did that hateful emperor give Nunnally such an order? Is it possible? Lelouch suddenly thought of a possibility. He remembered that Nunnally closed her eyes because Nunnally witnessed her mother being murdered when she was young. It was on that day that Nunnally not only lost her legs, but also her eyes. He also lost his mother, Princess Mariana. When Lelouch dared to arrive at the scene, he found that his mother was protecting Nana Lily. This also illustrates one thing from the side. Nunnally witnessed the tragedy. Does she know who the real murderer of her mother is? However, the hateful emperor made Nana Lily lose her eyesight and was unable to identify the murderer. Doesn't this mean that the emperor and the murderer have a mysterious relationship? President. Suddenly Lelouch called Murray. Can you go to Nunnally's room to do some rehabilitation exercises? Mi Lei vaguely realized something and looked at Luo Wei and Lelouch suspiciously. However, she did not refuse, but readily agreed. No problem Nunnally, let's go. I don't go. However, Nunnally refused. She was not an idiot, and of course she understood why Lelouch wanted to spare her. This matter has something to do with me, right? Oni-chan. So I'm not going anywhere. Right here. Of course Lelouch disagreed and tried every possible means to persuade Nunnally to leave. But she was rejected again and again by Nunnally. Lelouch was helpless. In the past, Nunnally was very obedient. But for some reason, today Nunnally became unusually stubborn. Nunnally. Lelouch couldn't help shouting again, hoping that Nunnally would not be so willful. However, Nunnally said, I know that my brother is doing this for my own good, but there are some things that I can't let my brother face alone. What's more, this matter is related to me. I also want to know why my father won't let me open my eyes. That guy is not our father at all. Lelouch couldn't help but retort. Since he changed his name, he has never regarded the Emperor of the Britannia Empire as their father. Seeing Nunnally who looked unmoved, Lelouch could only choose to agree. So what is the relationship between the murderer who killed my mother and the Emperor? He stared at Luo Wei and asked the doubts in his heart. Nunnally couldn't help but hold Lelouch's hand tightly. Luo Wei said, the murderer of your mother is called Vivi, a white-haired child. But in fact, he and your father, the Emperor of Britannia, are brothers. By the way, the guy called Vivi is the Emperor's brother. Lelouch felt unbelievable. You just said that he is just a white-haired child. Luo Wei naturally would not deny this. Yes, Vivi's appearance is indeed a white-haired child. However, some people cannot use appearance to determine their age. For example, I know a girl who looks very young, but she is actually a god who has lived for hundreds of millions of years. Do you dare to believe it? Good guy, are the ages of gods so exaggerated? He rubbed his temple and said, you mean that the guy called Vivi is actually older than his appearance? Not bad. Luo Wei nodded. Lelouch asked, that guy called Vivi, he shouldn't be an ordinary human. Luo Wei showed a teachable expression, and then said, you always thought that this world was very ordinary, a purely technological world. But I can tell you that this world is actually not ordinary at all. This world actually has something called code. People who hold this thing are immortal. Even if their limbs are cut off or their heads are cut off, they can be resurrected. And people who hold this thing can also give ordinary people a special ability through a contract. This ability is called Gios. It is the manifestation of human inner desire. Everyone who holds Gios has different abilities. For example, your father, the Emperor of Britannia, has a Gios ability to erase memory. Another example is the Round Table Sand Knight. The first knight's Gios ability is to predict the future. There is also a guy named Mao, whose Gios ability is mind reading. Quote. Lelouch seemed to understand something when he heard this, and asked, so in order to protect his brother, the Emperor erased Nunnally's memory and made Nunnally unable to open her eyes again. Luo Wei nodded, you can say that. Lelouch suddenly became furious, what a joke. It was our mother who died. Doesn't that emperor like our mother at all? Are all emperors such cold-blooded creatures? At this moment, even Nunnally felt uncomfortable. That's not the case. Luo Wei shook his head and said, when you and your father were still princes, your mother contributed a lot to your success. Your mother once piloted the nightmare, killing everyone to put down the rebellion and help your father ascend the throne. Princess Mariana's nickname is Sparkling Mariana. But in fact, she was also called the Bloody Princess, but gradually no one dared to mention this anymore. So there's a very deep connection between the two of them. After Vivi killed your mother, the Emperor of Britannia was actually secretly planning to report to Shaman W. It's just that because Vivi is the holder of the code, he is immortal and can be resurrected even if he is killed. So the Emperor has been waiting for the opportunity to seize his brother's code. Revenge for your mother is just one aspect. What's more important is that the Emperor of Britannia has a huge purpose. For this purpose, he must get the code. It's also worth mentioning that your mother is not actually dead. This sentence was like a bombshell, blowing up the entire audience instantly. Not only Lelouch was stunned, but Murray and Nunnally found it incredible. The previous words had already left them speechless. But I didn't expect Luo Wei to have an ace up his sleeve. It's incredible that Princess Marianne is not dead. Mom, she's still alive. Nunnally couldn't control herself, and her body began to tremble violently. Because this incident was so impactful, Nunnally's mood fluctuated violently. At this moment, she finally broke through the blockade set by the Emperor of Britannia, and opened her eyes under the impact of strong fluctuations. Luo Wei had to admit, those were quite beautiful eyes. Mesmerizingly beautiful eyes. Nunnally opened her eyes suddenly, surprising and delighting Lelouch. But at this time, Lelouch's focus was entirely on his mother, Princess Mariana. My mother, is my mother really not dead? Of course not. Luo Wei began to spoil the story. The only person in this world who has code is not just VV, but there is actually a person named CC. Don't ask me where this name came from, I don't know. But what is certain is that this is a pseudonym. CC is a witch who has lived for hundreds of years. No one knows her real name except herself. Currently, this guy is claiming to the outside world under the name CC. Wangs. After meeting your mother, I gave your mother a superpower. Soul transfer and rooting. This is the Gios your mother holds, 10 abilities that can only be activated upon death. When your mother was shot by VV, before she died, she activated her own abilities and transferred her soul to Anya, the maid of the Ares Palace at the time. By the way, Anya has now become the 6th knight of the Round Table. On weekdays Anaya is still Anaya. But when your mother needs it, she can easily take Anaya's body. That is to say, Anaya currently has 2 souls, one is her own soul, and the other is your mother's soul. So Anaya likes to hold a camera and record because she always loses some memory at some point. And all this is caused by your mother, Princess Mariana. Lelouch could hardly believe his ears when he heard this. It turned out that his mother was really not dead. Not only did he not die, but he survived with the help of other people's bodies. But what puzzles Lelouch is, since he is still alive, why has he never seen us? Luo Wei glanced at Lelouch with a half-smile and said, this is not simple, you should have imagined it. Lelouch fell silent. Luo Wei said before that the Emperor is executing a huge plan. Then their mother is most likely the executor of this plan. The reason why he didn't come to see them was because in the minds of the Emperor and his mother, the importance of their plan far exceeded that of him and Nunnally. This made Lelouch feel even more angry. He couldn't help but ask what the plan was. Of course, this is not a problem for Luo Wei, who has watched the plot, Luo Wei said calmly. It's just the wild thoughts of Tu Chunabu. Lelouch didn't know why. Luo Wei explained patiently. There are no gods in this world, but there is an Elias system. These 2 people called the Elias system the gods and developed a god-killing plan. This plan sounds quite complicated, but I can explain it in a simple way. To put it bluntly, they want to pass this plan so that humans can no longer lie and build a world without lies. Lelouch was dumbfounded. What kind of bullshit god-killing plan is this? Making it impossible for humans to lie. Don't they know that lies are necessary for human survival? If there were no lies in this world, it would indeed sound wonderful. But is that really the case? You must know that sometimes, the truth is far more poignant than lies. Lelouch simply couldn't imagine what the world would look like without lies, but he was certain that the world would not become better because of it. Just because of this bullshit plan, he and Nunnally were abandoned. Abandoned by his biological parents. At this moment, Lelouch was not only disgusted with the Emperor, but even their mother, Princess Mariana. These 2 are talking nonsense. Nunnally. Lelouch looked at his sister without worry, fearing that his sister would be hit because of this incident. Nunnally did actually take a hit. But when she saw Lelouch's worried expression, Nunnally's mood suddenly improved a lot. Maybe her father and mother no longer need her, but she has a brother who cares about her, loves her, and treats her as the center. That's enough. What else are you dissatisfied with? So Nunnally held Lelouch's hands and smiled. Don't worry, Oni-chan, I'm fine. Lelouch couldn't help but sigh in relief. As long as Nunnally is okay, everything is nothing. Thank you for telling us these things. Lelouch stood up and bowed to Luo Wei. If it weren't for Luo Wei, he would still be kept in the dark. He simply couldn't imagine how desperate he would be if he discovered the truth one day. But now the other party not only cured Nunnally, but also told him the truth. Maybe it's a good thing to work under the other person's hand. But at this moment, Lelouch suddenly reacted. If there are no gods in this world, then what's going on, Your Excellency? Luo Wei asked back, have I ever said that I am the god of this world? Lelouch's eyes widened instantly. Even Nunnally found it incredible. You mean you come from another world? And it's a different world of swords and magic. Lei interjected. President. Lelouch shouted in surprise, so you have already been to that other world? Lei listened to her chest proudly, nodded and said, yes, I have been there. It is indeed a very interesting world. In that world, the gods felt bored because they had lived in the heaven for too long, so they came. When he came to the human world, he established his own family and lived together with human beings. Nunnally looked yearning after hearing this. It seems very interesting for humans and gods to live together in this world. Of course it's interesting. Lei added on the side. There is a dungeon in that world, which is full of all kinds of monsters. Adventurers who join the clan will be blessed by the gods. As long as you kill these monsters, you can gain experience points and level up, just like playing a game. Those powerful adventurers can even dismantle Nightmare with their bare hands. In addition, he is also proficient in various magics, which is super interesting. Lelouch narrowed his eyes when he heard this. He couldn't help but start to imagine what that world would be like as Lei told him. At this moment, he suddenly remembered that Luo Wei had said before that he wanted Nunnally to join his family. I don't know if this sentence counts now. So Lelouch asked. He also saw that Luo Wei was not the kind of guy who liked to beat around the bush, so he asked very calmly. Of course it counts. Luo Wei nodded cheerfully. Nunnally is so cute, of course she can join my family. I just don't know what Nunnally wants. He turned to look at Nunnally. The reason why he did this was simply to make Lelouch work harder for him. Of course, Nunnally's cuteness is one of the reasons. Nunnally did not agree immediately, but turned to look at Lelouch. Lelouch nodded towards Nunnally. Unexpectedly Nunnally agreed. Nunnally then said, if the Lord God doesn't mind, please allow me to join your family. No problem. Luo Wei handed over a glass of water dripping with his own blood, handed it to Nunnally, and motioned Nunnally to drink it all in one gulp. After drinking it, Nunnally became Luo Wei's family member. Like Lei, Nunnally also has no discernible skills. So Luo Wei decided to wait until Nunnally had her own skills before choosing to share them with Nunnally. Then he displayed his skill list for Nunnally to choose from. Nunnally saw that Luo Wei was confused about these skills for a while, so she had to ask her brother for advice, hoping that Lelouch would help him make a choice. After taking a few glances, Lelouch asked Nunnally to choose the dimensional gate. At present, Lei has learned how to manifest fantasy and has good combat effectiveness. He can completely let Lei team up with Nana Lily and go on adventures in the body world together. After all, Luo Wei is his boss, and he can't trouble Luo Wei every time. This is not what a subordinate should do. He is indeed a smart man. Luo Wei expressed high praise for Lelouch's choice. Nunnally also made up her mind and chose the skill of Dimensional Gate. At this point, Luo Wei's purpose of coming to Ashford College has been completed. After a few polite words with Lelouch, Luo Wei planned to leave the rebellious world of Lelouch and return to Axel. The purpose is of course to go to the Dream Demon shop. But before leaving, Luo Wei said to Lelouch, if nothing happens, the woman named Cece will appear in front of you soon. When the time comes, remember to introduce her to me. I'm very interested in this water woman. I will. Lelouch noted this. Then, Luo Wei left. Luo Wei, who returned to Axel, naturally visited the Dream Demon shop again. So I had a sweet dream. It wasn't until the next day after the sweet dream that Luo Wei got up from bed refreshed and started a new day of life. At present, Darkness and others have obtained the Dimensional Gate and can travel between several worlds at will. It is no longer necessary for Luo Wei to go to them every day and bring them to upgrade. In other words, this group of people are already mature adventurers and can upgrade themselves. And Luo Wei also began to explore his own upgrade model. Since Luo Wei upgraded to a god, the adventurer card of the wonderful world is no longer suitable for Luo Wei. To be precise, there is no way to display Luo Wei's numerical value on the adventurer card. When Luo Wei takes out the adventurer card, there will be a series of question marks on it, which means that the adventurer upgrade system seems to be no longer suitable for the current Luo Wei. So Luo Wei must find a new way to upgrade. The current Luo Wei is a LV.1 god. Although his level is a little lower, his power has not been weakened. Even more powerful than before, which makes Luo Wei quite gratified. At least it's not getting weaker. Then, Luo Wei left the town of Axel and came to a nearby lake. If Luo Wei remembered correctly, there should be a multi-headed water snake monster here. This monster is extremely dangerous, with extremely high magical power and resilience. If it is seriously injured, it will dive back to the bottom of the lake to sleep, waiting for resurrection. When the plot of Wonderful World begins, this monster has already been defeated. However, the plot has not started yet, so Luo Wei came over to see if this monster has been defeated. If he wasn't punished, he wouldn't mind defeating this monster here. Of course, if he really couldn't defeat this monster, Luo Wei could leave at will. He has set up a teleportation point in Axel and can return to Axel in an instant. Therefore, when everything was ready, Luo Wei came to the place where bulls appeared. When Luo Wei rushed to the lake, he was lucky enough to find that the multi-headed water snake had not been killed yet, so Luo Wei made a bomb without hesitation and threw it in. A few seconds later, with a muffled bang, the lake exploded instantly. A large amount of lake water was blown up into the sky, and then turned into water droplets all over the sky and fell, as if there was a downpour. Luo Wei, who was well prepared, opened an umbrella and covered the lake water falling from the sky. At the same time, the multi-headed water snake lurking at the bottom of the lake suddenly rushed out of the water, and then let out a deafening roar. If he looked carefully, Luo Wei also found that one of the heads of the multi-headed water snake seemed to be missing half of its head. It must have been blown up by a bomb. No wonder this monster was so angry. After the multi-headed water snake rushed out of the lake, it immediately saw Luo Wei standing by the lake. But no matter how it reasoned, it knew that the person in front of it was the culprit who attacked it. So the multi-headed water snake rushed towards Luo Wei without hesitation. Its heads opened its bloody mouth at the same time, bit Luo Wei's body, drove it away, and then tore Luo Wei into pieces with force. But just when Luo Wei was torn apart, it suddenly exploded. This time the explosion was even more powerful, unbelievably big. The surging flames mixed with the terrifying impact force instantly blew several heads of the multi-headed water snake into pieces. At this moment, the multi-headed water snake suddenly let out a hysterical cry and suffered unimaginable damage. But the next second, a laser beam came from a distance and instantly penetrated the whining head of the multi-headed water snake. This is also the last head of the multi-headed water snake. The whining stopped abruptly. The huge body of the multi-headed water snake collapsed and hit the lake heavily, causing huge waves. The blood instantly dyed the lake red. A minute later, a man came from a distance. It was Luo Wei. It turns out that Luo Wei, who was torn apart by a multi-headed water snake just now, was just a doll he made using his own fantasy, with a large amount of explosives hidden inside. The real Luo Wei was already hiding when he dropped the bomb. If the multi-headed water snake swallows the puppet created by Luo Wei will detonate the puppet and directly explode the multi-headed water snake from the inside. But he didn't expect that the multi-headed water snake would directly tear the puppet made by Luo Wei into pieces. Although it was somewhat beyond Luo Wei's expectations, the result was still good. The puppet also exploded, severely injuring the multi-headed water snake. Then Luo Wei used fantasy materialization to create a laser gun and shot the multi-headed water snake, killing it completely. This extremely dangerous monster died like this. It is also worth mentioning that after the death of the multi-headed water snake, Luo Wei felt that his body received a force and became a little stronger. But the strength is limited. Probably only about 1% stronger. In order to prove that this was not an illusion, Luo Wei found 10 more batches of monsters to fight against. As a result, the monsters near Axel suffered, and died in Luo Wei's hands one after another. At night, when Luo Wei returned to Axel, a novice adventure town, Luo Wei could already clearly feel that it was not an illusion. I have indeed become stronger. After a day of high-intensity killing, Luo Wei had strengthened by at least about 1/10. This made Luo Wei relieved. Because of this increase in strength, Luo Wei realized that although the adventurer card could no longer be used, Luo Wei could still defeat monsters and upgrade. The more powerful the monster, the more power it provides. It's just that upgrading is much more difficult than before. If in the past, Luo Wei's high-intensity killing this day would have opened up several levels. Not to mention anything else, the experience provided by a multi-headed water snake to Luo Wei is enough for Luo Wei to upgrade. However, now, the multi-headed water snake can only provide Luo Wei with a 1% improvement. This means that after becoming a god, Luo Wei will have difficulties every time he upgrades. There are too many experience points required. It's basically the same heaven and earth as before. But even so, Luo Wei was still relieved, because he could rely on the dimensional gate to go to the heavens and the worlds, and there were countless monsters in the worlds. Therefore, Luo Wei really doesn't worry about his big appetite. As long as he travels enough worlds, he will always have enough experience to upgrade, right? For example, the dungeon in the Dikuo world is a good location. There are a large number of monsters in it. The farther down you go, the more powerful the monsters are. There's just one problem. The dungeon seems to have its own consciousness and hates the gods very much. Once a god enters the dungeon, riots will occur in the dungeon, hoping to keep the gods behind. Luo Wei is now considered a god. Will the dungeon deny him entry? I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.